What's up, everyone? How y'all doing? Y'all excited to see me crash out? How is my audio? I was having some issues with it last time. Does it sound fine now? Great. I can't believe I went the entire stream last time sounding terrible and not a single goddamn person said anything. I blame you, chat. Gotta wait a minute for people to filter in before we get started on this. How's everyone's week in Flesh and Blood? I had a pretty good week. Played in the AGE East. Got top 8 on Gravy Bones. Had a good time. I lost the mirror round 1. My deck decided I did not get to win today, and it was a comedy of errors. This is how you know the game's going bad. I had one turn where I had to conquer the high seas, his chum, and then next turn I had to block with 2 conquer the high seas. Was not winning that game. Then I beat, in no particular order, this is just like me trying to remember the decks I played against. I beat a Jarl, a Prism, I think I beat a Fang. Oh god, what else is there for heroes in the game? My brain is just escaping me. Heroes. I lost in top 8 to Connor on Dio. That game was also a comedy of errors. I had to conquer the high seas in my arsenal for like 3 rounds, and I could not find a hand with double blue to play it. So I finally threw it with yellows. And then I get a chum on board. And if I see an ally in the top 10 cards of my deck to activate chum, he fatigues. I have 2 rounds with top of deck manipulation from hero power to find an ally. Don't find an ally. I have a sick play, though. I see that he's boosted to maximum velocities, and he's played 1 already. And I have not seen his last backup protocol yet. So I sunken treasure blocking an attack and flip over his max V. And he's just like, oh no, I needed that. What else did I play against? God, I can't remember. Oh, a Syndra. I beat a Syndra. and I drew the last round with my homie who was locked for a seat anyways. We just ID'd. It's a pretty fun event. I had a good time. Really enjoyed the deck. Looking forward to playing more AGEs. Apparently, I'm first seat on the AGE East thing. I was already locked for the top 16 thing, but I was just going to like try to play for seeding at the end of the season because your like placement in it does matter for the end. And somehow this jumped me to first place. So woohoo! I'm happy about that. Oh yeah. Whenever you can do pitch stack things at all, like anything related to second cycle stuff, it's always so satisfying. That's some of the best shit in the game right there. It doesn't come up often enough, I feel like, which I think is fine. Like, I think if every game was about that, the game becomes even harder than it already is. Also, to any of the boys out there that were in the Discord earlier talking, kampai. Got my plum wine from Japan. Mm, so tasty. Listen, what you don't need to come in here to convince me. You're in the wrong place if you're trying to find someone to argue with you over Tome getting unbanned. Deal. Get rid of Kano. Get him gone. Give us Blaze. Give us an actual burn deck instead of a fucking Storm deck. Storm has no place in Fab. It's just like not the right kind of game design for that. Did you guys do anything fun this week in Fab? Yeah, I'll play Blaze if she gets a CC hero. I'll mess with that. I love playing mono red aggro decks. It's so fun. How'd you do it the Battle Harden? Give it like 2 more minutes and then we'll get started on this. You existed? Oh no. That's tough, buddy. I feel that. I've never done good at a Battle Harden before. Battle Hardens are like the bane of my existence. I scrub out of every single one. I just stopped playing in them because I'm just like, this is just a waste of my time. I just always get shit on. I don't know why. I'm just cursed. Was that a Living Legend one? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I don't think Briar is like actually that good. I feel like its popularity is predicated on the fact that it did well at that one Battle Hardened. So people just kind of looked at that and they were like, "Oh, Briar looks good, I guess. I guess I'll play that because lack of critical thinking skills of being able to determine what's actually good in the meta. Just I'm going to blindly follow what did well at that Battle Harden." She's not juiced enough to actually like hang with the actual good stuff in the format. It's a fine deck. It's just not like you look at what's actually possible in the format, and is not actually able to contend with that stuff. There's a Japanese grocery store next to my last skirmish. Got to try taco pea and broiled eel for the first time. That was good. That sounds cool. Yeah, Briar's very simple. But I mean, if you're going to play a simple deck, I mean, I've talked about this enough on the channel over the past like 2 weeks. Just play Lexi. I think Lexi's just the better version of that strategy. Yeah, Lightning Greaves could be cool. I'd love to see some sort of Lightning Greaves gone on a flash technology added to the deck. That'd be pretty sweet. Yeah, I mean, I'm not speaking for you. I'm speaking for the general everyone that's playing Living Legend right now. Like, people should be playing Lexi, I feel like, more than people are playing Briar. Like, if the perceived meta is Briar is the best thing you can be doing, Lexi's probably actually the best thing you can be doing. Now, that might not be actually, like, the absolute truth of what's the best thing in the format, But if you perceive the meta to be Briar, then Lexi's very good into that, while being good into a lot of other stuff as well. I just hate how predicated, I guess is the right word. That might be the wrong word. That Briar feels like it is on its snaps. It feels like you get priced into burning your snaps because the deck just doesn't generate embodiment. It doesn't carry forward embodiments very well, if that makes sense. Like, it does a bad job of, like, I'm gonna end on an embodiment of lightning, so that way next turn I have one. I think it's kind of an issue. There's, like, really not that many ways to profitably do it. It's like throwing a go again attack into a Sonata and then arsenaling the card that you Sonata into, and then ending on Rosetta. There's just not very many play lines that are actually good for ending on embodiment of lightning. There was like one other card that was good for doing it, and I can't remember what it was. It could also be Creepers technology. Like, the Creepers allows you to do that more often. Ooh, that'd be sick. Okay. I think we stalled enough. Hello, stream. So today, obviously, we're going to be talking about the BNR. First, ground rule. We are not talking about any of the leaks. Let's respect the other content creators that were affected by this, and we're not going to talk about that, okay? I don't want you directly talking about any of them. Don't insinuate any of them. We're not going to acknowledge it happened, to be respectful to the people that still have their spoilers to do this season, okay? Deal? Deal. What we might do is do a viewing stream reacting to all of the content creator stuff. I typically skip a lot of them. I'm one of those people that just like, just show me the spoiler card. But since I've been streaming more, maybe we can do that as a piece of content of doing a thing of watching everyone's different things. If that's something that you guys are interested in, let me know. Otherwise, we'll just do something else. It's not that big of a deal. So we're going to be going over the BNR. First, we are going to go over the BNR article in its entirety. I do not want to cherry pick what we talk about and take things out of context. We're going to go over the entire thing. I'm probably going to, intermittently, I can't think of the right word. I can't talk right now. We're going to be talking about some different points on it and like kind of pausing to talk about some stuff as we go, probably. But we are going to go over the entire thing. Then I'm going to give my opinion on the bands themselves, and then we are going to go over the actual impact of this on the metagame. And then after we are done talking about the BNR, if we still have time, probably we will. Let's explore what Gravy Bones might look like after this BNR and explore some deck building options with the deck. So let's just jump right into it. Hello, Jacob. The following changes to Classic Constructive are effective on Monday, September 1st. Yeah, Verdance looks really good. I think, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, everyone's complaining about the Plume ban. I think that ban has to happen if this is the approach you're taking to Gravy Bones. I think if Gravy Bones gets pushed out of the meta, then Verdance kind of loses the thing checking it in the metagame, and it's way too good. But anyways, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So following changes, blah, blah, blah. Bonds of Agony, banned. Golden Tipple, red, banned. Golden Tipple, yellow, banned. Plume of Evergrowth, banned. Talk a Big Game, banned. Germinate, unbanned. Let's zoom in a little bit so this is a little bit easier to read. Given the high quality of games and statistically strong balance in the current Classic Constructed format, this significant change to the banned and restricted list may come as a shock. It's worth talking again about how it's worth talking again about some of the reasons we may choose to modify the banned and restricted lists and our current philosophy regarding adjustments. We may employ bans for a multitude of reasons, including but not limited to a deck running afoul of design principles, a deck performing in a significantly anomalous fashion. English, clearly my first language here. Uh, a deck providing an unfair or difficult to engage with play experience, a card restricting current and future design space, to freshen up a metagame, and an attempt to slightly modify balance, adding space for more heroes and classes to succeed. Today's banned and restricted announcement, in small parts, attempts to do all of these things. When we last adjusted the Living Legend point system, we declared a desire to be more active in the management of our formats, especially when it comes to Classic Constructed. In the early days of TCGs, and indeed persisting to the present in the minds of some publishers, bans were often treated as a scarlet letter that designers and developers were forced to wear, signaling that they had failed at their jobs. While Flesh and Blood may be inspired by classic TCGs, it also endeavors to be the future of the medium and does not feel beholden to the past. We believe with the advent of live service gaming, the modern gamer's appetite for format adjustments has changed with the times. Bans are bans are a tool that we believe our players base appreciates the liberal usage of. I'm going to pause right here a little bit to just kind of give my thoughts on that. I don't disagree with that. I think that people people are less sensitive to that now between live service games, and like honestly, we've seen so many band adjustments happen in other TCGs over the past couple years that I think people have become a little bit sensitized to that. Look at everything that's happened in Magic over the past like 5 years or so since COVID. uh, Obviously it's not like a great comparison, that's not good that that's happening, but at a certain point you get a bit desensitized to that. Let me finish the last couple sentences here, and I'm going to give a little bit more of my thoughts. This is not declaring there will always be macro and micro adjustments in each ban period. We are just making clear that even when a format is solid, as Classic Constructed currently is, it will not stop us from striving for an even better metagame if we think it's possible. We will continue to use bans and unbans as a valuable part of Flesh and Blood's development, striving to do so in a way that respects our players' time and investments. So, this right here, I've been stuck on this for the past like 2 days. I know this isn't what they're saying, but this, in conjunction with what happened, felt, because we talked about this on our BNR um stream the other day, and the video, if you saw that instead. I think the game quality is quite high in Classic Constructed right now. I think the games are very good. I think the metagame is good. I think the game is in a fairly healthy state. Is Gravy Bones powerful? Yes. But are the games good? Is the metagame good? I think most people would agree that is the case. And they clearly agree as well. The people actually doing it, the only people whose opinion matters here. This feels like, to me, a ban where the sentiment of social media almost impacted it a little bit, where they're like, well, all the data shows that everything's good and the metagame is healthy, and we'd have no reason to make bans. But a lot of people are complaining, so we're going to make a ban based on what Twitter's saying. That's what that reads like to me. And I don't quite care for that, if that's actually what's happening here. I don't know if I necessarily agree that this ban falls in line with these, can't find my cursor, these design philosophies necessarily. It just feels like an optics ban to make people happy, make them stop complaining. And there's real costs to doing that. There is costs to banning. If you did not see the video that LSV did recently talking about the VV bans, he talks about a lot of that there, and I highly recommend going to watch that if you haven't. I don't want to repeat everything that he said here. It was a very good video. He going to articulate that better than I did. I do think something needed to be hit from Gravy potentially. But specifically, this is the part that gets me as the you just listen to social media aspect. This screams to me like they didn't internally test Rainbow Tipple in the deck, and that was not how they intended people to play the deck. That might not be the case. But if you're surprised by this and you then, in hindsight, make a ban even though the data shows that the metagame is healthy, I don't know how I should really be interpreting that. Because I think there's better bans that you can go after for Gravy than this. But we're going to come back to that later when we talk more about the specific bans and my opinions on that. I just wanted to at least talk about this, where this, I have been stuck on this. There's two small paragraphs in this entire article that have lived rent-free in my head for the past 2 days. It's this and this down here at the very bottom. We're going to come back to that later, but I've been kind of hung up on that. And I will catch up on chat in a little bit, guys. Don't you worry. Now, we talked about this one when we were doing the BNR video the other day and on the podcast for the Runaways. My current headcanon is that it was actually Mantle before, and then they listened to the pod and went, wait, that's actually a good idea. Let's do that instead. That's my headcanon, and you can't take this from me. But I just think that's kind of funny. You kind of feel like these bans are social media bias? Can you rephrase that? Bonds of Agony. Bonds was intended to reward assassins for taking on a somewhat challenging quest to develop multiple attack reactions to the same chain link, and in turn give the assassin's opponent a difficult defending decision. Both of these propositions have begun to break down as the assassin card pool has expanded. I feel like that's a little odd to say because in reality, when we got Bonds, it was already in that position. Like, this was already the same problem with New. It was already there's no correct answer when we were playing against New when there's a Bonds in the combat chain. I think it's just more obvious now when the Bonds says go again, but shrug. I don't feel that strongly about that. The defending decisions around Bonds of Agony when Arachne slipped through the cracks starts the turn with it alongside a full grip of cards is simply impossible. Same with New. There's almost no counterplay. There are almost no outs. Over defended and Slippy moves onto the next chain link and mauls you. Under defended and you're taking 12 plus damage and maybe losing your most important cards. With Take Up the Mantle in the mix, I guess that's the real thing that changed between now and then, the fact that anything could become a Bonds, but underhanded taken. And with Take Up the Mantle in the mix, this decision is one theoretically faced on the vast majority of turns in the game. It simply feels unfair. Pair this with Slippy's win rate that sits just below the problematic threshold. That hurt my brain to say that. And the fact that Assassin's card pool, like all card pools, will continue to add more powerful options as time goes on, and therefore more profitability and reliability Oh man, I'm just cannot do this. You ever just like sit up and read to the class and the whole class starts laughing at you? That's how I feel right now. It's so tough actually doing that. More powerful options as time goes on, and therefore more profitability and reliably find the 3 reactions to trigger Bonds of Agony. And it has become clear it is the time to slightly scale down Assassin's power level. As is true of every banned card in the list, the goal here is not to destroy Slippy's win rate, but the time has come to take steps to mitigate the damned if you do, damned if you don't play experience, and along the way get Slippy back to winning at a slightly safer clip. We already talked about this on the previous stream and on the pod. I 100% agree with this. It was real. I'm surprised that they didn't mention snag in here, because that was the in the section of talking about over and under blocking. I suppose you don't really need to, because that's not really the point that they're trying to make here, and it just kind of extends the length of this unnecessarily. But because that is ultimately what it turned into. When there's a bonds with go again with a big hand, it was, do you have a snag? No, I guess you're eating it and losing a card. Because there really wasn't a better way to block around it unless you had like defense reactions, or you just like sick read them. That was my favorite way to block it. Just like, nah, I know what's in your hand. That was always really satisfying when you do that. And we kind of talked about this before. It feels like Assassin is went through a similar thing to what Viscerai went through, where it was like every set, let's just give it a new funny majestic and see if that pushes it to being playable. As we talked about last time, it wasn't the cards that was the problem. Assassin had very good cards. The hero and the weapons and the armor were the issue. That got solved over time. They got a better hero power. They got better weapons that actually do something, either giving your blues +1 and go again, or marking them so that way you can use other effects that are above rate. And of course, all of the retrieve, so that way Flick Knives is like a real card in the deck, and now you can have like a double weapon setup that's actually, you know, a reasonable rate. I think if you get rid of like one of these things, like either the funny majestics, the retrieve, or the hero powers, this is not really a problem. But Pandora's box is open. We're here now. Can't really do anything about it. And it's very similar to Ranger in that respect. Like, Ranger's card pool is fucking insane. So I would not be surprised if we get a Ranger with a good hero power again, that we kind of see that pop back in the meta as just like really, really oppressive. I should probably catch up on chat a little bit here. Otherwise, it's going to be way too much to catch up on. Plume Band changed nothing and made Verdance more boring and cut some tech for a few matchups. Yeah, sure. I mean, it does probably make fatigue a little bit harder. You probably have to do like an evergreen strategy instead, but sure. Yep, completely agree. I don't think it hits her that hard. She's probably not exploding defense. So I think the problem is that with the hat still here, the deck is way too good. Fine with Earth Hat Band. Basically cut her from doing double rampant. I mean, Wizard has... Yeah, they don't have a Wizard hat. They have Elemental hats. And they have the best hat, Ragamuffin. Oops, scroll down too much. Favorite thing about this BNR by far is just all the words in it. I think they've done a great job explaining. Yeah, I will say that's one of my favorite things about all of these. Their articles are great on all this. It's really nice seeing behind the curtain, and I really appreciate that. I may not agree with them on everything, but it is nice to see them put themselves out there and do that. I deeply appreciate that. Really like this philosophy change acknowledgement. Understand that it's not for everyone, but I really like it. Okay, we were on bonds. Let's go back up to the philosophy real quick. Well, we'll talk about the philosophy later. Let's put a pin in that, okay? I know you may have already talked about this, but do you feel like... Oh, I mean, we're about to come up on the Tipples, so we'll put a pin in that. I kind of read between the lines. is these changes are all intended to open up some space for maybe. It's so this is one problem that I have with the Tipple ban, kind of jumping ahead a little bit here. It feels so weird making a ban that kneecaps two of your most recent heroes. That that is a suspicious thing to do for sales and player retention. Again, there is a risk involved when you do these things of creating quit moments for players. You don't you ideally want to avoid quit moments. If you've ever watched Josh Strife Hayes, he talks a lot about that when it comes to MMOs, these quit moments. This is a major one for TCGs. Ideally, you want to avoid that. Like doing this to one of your new things can be very detrimental to the players actually staying with your game. Imagine getting into the game with the Gravy Armory deck, spending a ton of money on the deck, and now the deck is unplayable. I don't know that the deck's unplayable, but imagine that actually happens, right? Like this game was way too expensive to have that happen to people, and this isn't like other card games. You can't just go, okay, I can't play Gravy anymore. Whatever. I'll just go play something else with the same cards. It's not like, okay, well, my blue green deck got a card banned out of it. I'll just take my blue green cards played in a different blue green deck. It doesn't work that way. That's not how Fab is designed. So when you like the bans in this game, I think incur a greater risk than they do in other games, not just because of the ability for cards to move between decks, but because of the connection players have to their specific decks. Like as we all know, people really attach themselves to specific heroes in this game, even if like meta be damned on a lot of it. So you do incur more risk with those people having quit moments. Should you care about quit moments for bans? Maybe not. Really depends on how broken something is, right? But when you say, yeah, by all data, it shows that the games are good and nothing is needed, but yeah, we're going to kneecap this anyways, it feels kind of odd, right? Nerfing the top deck that gates Guardians and Brutes right before the Guardian Brute set comes out feels like a financial decision. Maybe. I could definitely see that, but I don't know. I think they need to kind of reimagine the entire design space of Brute Guardian. That whole design space kind of just sucks. I mean, Jason, the comment that you're making of it feels like it's coming from a social media bias. I don't know if you heard me say that, but I literally said this. This feels like they listened to Twitter and they're just appeasing people for optics, essentially. That's what it felt like to me. Um, okay, we're gonna start moving forward a little bit on this. Too many comments. I love you guys. Sorry. Golden Tipple, red and yellow. In my 30 years of TCGs, I struggled to find an analog for the Gravy Bones experience. When we're analyzing whether a deck is warping balance or performing at a statistically unacceptable rate, we are necessarily driven by data. If win rates tell us a deck is too strong, we've got to respect the evidence. But what happens when almost everyone is positive a deck is too good, but the data tells a completely different story? Well, that's Gravy Bones, a deck that is entirely pedestrian win rate that many folks believe is the best deck in format, and perhaps one of the most powerful flesh and blood decks we've ever seen. And frankly, I have to agree with them. You know what else this kind of feels like? I made this analogy a couple times on a couple different groups of mine. It feels like, what if you had a champion in League of Legends that was only good in the LCS? Like the LCS players all agreed this is one of the best champions to play at a professional level. But it's kind of poo poo on ladder. Like it's just not a solo queue character. Like it's hard to make a direct analogy, but like, what if it was a solely team based champion or something like that? It's just something that you really need that extra coordination that you're just not going to get in solo queue for it to really shine. But none of the LCS players are actually complaining about it. None of them think it's a problem, and it's really not actually a problem at that level. But the people complaining are the gold players, who it's just not really an issue in their bracket. That's what it feels like almost to me. Of like, it looks really good at the top at the LCS, but is really not that big of a deal when you're going to the lower brackets. That's what it feels like to me. Does anyone else get that vibe? Oh, tasty. He's a Zir. He does have the undead skelly guys, so that's kind of like a Zir, right? He's got the sand guys. It's close enough. Gravy Bones may be having his win rate altered by the fact that he is fiendishly difficult to play, but watch what the deck can do in the hands of Pro Tour top 8 competitors like Michael Hamilton, Arthur Tourette, Enki de Pure. I definitely butchered that. Or Shiryu Wu, and it's hard to argue against the fact that necromancy is the best thing that you can be doing in Flesh and Blood today in the hands of the masters. Bad matchups tend to dissipate very quickly, and the good matchups are over before they even begin. Thus far, so much of Gravy Bones' power has been tied up in the fact that he has access to an almost indefatigable amount of gold. Is that a word? Indefatigable? I've never heard that word before. Yeah? Huh. We learned something new, chat. I heckin' love learning. I heckin' love learning. Gravy Bones plays solid turns with all manners of hand sizes and configurations, but those legitimately broken turns, they always involve cracking 3 to 4 gold and shaping hand to be an opponent's worst nightmare. Gravy Bones needs to start working harder for his access to such bountiful treasure. Okay, I admit it when I'm wrong. Am I pronouncing it wrong? Is it not indefatigable? Wait. Hold on.
Indefatigable.
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 Huh. We learned another new thing. Oh, I heckin' love learning. The starting point here will be a ban of Golden Tipple in both red and yellow, but that may not be the end of Gravy Bones adjustments. A huge benefit of the Living Legend point changes is the time granted to us in order to shape a new hero into a balanced and successful participant in Classic Constructed. Perhaps Saltwater Swell in all colors will eventually prove. Perhaps Saltwater Swell in all colors also eventually proves to be too much. Maybe the metagame evolves in such a way where Gravy isn't good at all anymore, and Golden Tipple ultimately comes back to the deck. We are open to all possibilities and are happy to have time to explore this go around. A word to the Marlin enjoyers out there. A Golden Tipple ban surely impacts Marlin as well, but she is the deck that needs help regardless of the existence of Golden Tipple. That card being present in the card pool would only restrict our ability to build out her core identity over time, as it's near impossible to make other good gold generating cards in the pirate class with Gravy Bones already having access to Golden Tipple. And no, hero specific bans cannot be the answer here. While bookkeeping around the first few such bans would be fine, the format would eventually become impossible to remember a web of band expectations. Marlin will have her kit built up over time with some small support in Super Slam and more significant support arriving in such sets that follow. Remember, this is a hero whose ability read so powerful that everyone convinced themselves that Three of a Kind would be banned prior to her release. Agree. I think she's like actually got really good bones. Not the gravy kind of bones, but like again, we talked about this earlier. The Ranger card pool is really good. And her hero power is like actually pretty reasonable. I think that she's like a couple glue pieces away from being a really good deck. There's latent potential in Marlin's kit. Enjoy the ride that so many other heroes before her have taken, and trust that someday she will find her place in the face of this setback. This feels completely biased due to not everyone can play at pro level. If this were to be done, then it should have been at the pro level. I mean, how do you make a ban at only the pro level? That's kind of silly. I agree that like this feels more targeted towards the top of the game, but I'm willing to accept that my perception of things could be skewed too. That gravy is still a problem at lower skill levels. I don't mean to say that in at all a derogatory way either of lower skill levels. I'm just trying to articulate this in the correct way here. But from all that I've seen, that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like gravy shits the bed often enough when you don't know what you're doing that it makes the deck not that great at lower skill levels. I don't know. I think it's really hard to have a ban and restricted discussion around decks gatekeeping because by nature of how the game is designed, that's always going to be the case. And if anything, this is one of the most open metas we've had in a long time. We talked about this in the previous BNR video. There is an absurd amount of viable heroes in the meta prior to this ban. Viable. I should say the card names for listeners, not watchers. Slippy, Mario, Syndra, Dio, maybe Dory, Fang, Gravy, Ira, maybe Jarl, Kano, Kasai, Acilio, maybe Prism, Verdance, Victor, maybe Vincent. That's a lot of viable heroes. So I don't know if I agree with the gatekeeping thing. It's like, okay, Brute Guardian is basically being gate kept, and dog shit heroes. Gravy being good is not stopping Bolton from being good, right? So like let's not pretend that these heroes gravy matters for this, right? So in reality, it's just Brute and Guardian that are getting gate kept from the meta. Does that change if Gravy leaves? They were already kind of poopy before. Like Guardian has been fringe playable for a while. Brute has been fringe playable for a while. These were like not decks that we're seeing play before when we were in the Earth meta. These are not decks that we're seeing play when we were in the MST meta. I just don't agree with that. Guardians were only not gate kept when it was Starvo and Oldhim after Prism got banned. It's literally two Guardians that are an outlier to the history of Guardian. I don't even think it's a fun decks thing. It's just This is the nature of the design of Flesh and Blood as a hero-centric game. Everything can't always be good. That's just the nature of it. Have Brutes and Guardians been out of the spotlight for too long? Sure. I'll humor that. But to say Gravy is gatekeeping the meta, I think is just incorrect. Because the things that Gravy gatekeeps, I don't think are good with Gravy gone, and they weren't good before Gravy. That's my point. And that being said, we're also in an incredibly diverse meta. What was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 viable heroes in the meta. What card game do you play that you know there's 13 reasonable choices that you could bring to an event? I can't think of very many instances of that happening in card games. I think that's fantastic. People did complain. Were you here back when Oldhim existed? I was there. People bitched. I have a video with Dan of us just bitching for like 30 minutes about it. Sure. Fair on that, Chris. And also, that being said, there's still decks that like on the fringe here that like could be good. Like Puffin and Marlin are a few cards away from being real decks, right? Florian, I think Florian is really the deck that is gatekept by Gravy the most here. Because like Florian was really good before Gravy. I think he's the biggest loser for Gravy existing. And Verdance, I guess. And I really think that's the only two real losers from Gravy existing. If anything, Gravy brought up a bunch of heroes because a bunch of decks that are counter to Gravy moved up in play rate. He brought decks into the meta. That's a really hard line to actually articulate. Huntsman becomes viable when every other assassin leaves, because the assassin card pool is still incredibly good. Like Jacob, we're like, I'm trying to also be objective about this. Let's all be objective humans, right? I obviously don't want Gravy to get hit because I'm playing the deck. But I'm gonna be keep it a buck with you. I think Gravy was like a little too good and needed to get hit. My problem was not that Gravy got hit. My problem is what was hit. I don't think Tipple was the card to go after. I think that hitting Tipple impacts the consistency of the deck, but does not rein in the power ceiling of the deck significantly. I really don't think all it does is it reduces the consistency, and it probably on average reduces your gold a little bit over the course of a game. Because again, let's keep it a buck. We're still going to replace the Tipples with something else that makes gold, right? So it's not like the Tipples are gone, the deck makes less gold. It's just going to get replaced with Loan Sharks or something, right? Exactly. Like that was the ban I really wanted. Let's just taper in Gravy's play rate a little bit. Let's pull up my ban list from the other day. And if nothing happened other than... God damn, that audio was terrible. Holy smokes. It was just hit the bonds and the swell. If you just hit these, you bring in the power level of Gravy a little bit with the swell, you reduce the floor significantly. It makes it harder to use all of that gold because you don't just like randomly create resources out of nothing. And then with the bonds leaving, a bunch of the decks that counter Gravy move in, and then things start preying on Gravy, actually. We would have seen more decks preying on Gravy. Like, they mentioned this in the article that, like, the decks that are counters to Gravy aren't actually counters, wherever that was. Like, it ends up beating its counters. But in reality, the decks that counter Gravy did counter Gravy. But they couldn't make it through all the slippies. And the thing is, too, like, Gravy's now going to have plenty of draws where the game is going to feel exactly the same as it did before because the Gravy just saw their blue tipples and their port sides early, and it's just business as usual. And it's going to like feel like nothing happened, and you're just going to feel like shit because the Gravy high rolled you. Like, they just got lucky and saw their things that didn't get banned. So it's going to feel more random now. And the other reason that I like this ban specifically going after the blue swell, and honestly, go for blue swell, blue tipple. Hit those two instead. Because then it makes prismatic leyline just not playable in the deck anymore. So your anti-fatigue strategy has to evolve more, which also makes your aggro matchups more difficult because you typically play that in the aggro matchups as well. I don't know if I want to count on more Necro cards because it might. If you look at how they do a lot of bring new things into the game for existing classes, it's a lot of this literally doesn't play in the old hero. Oh, we're getting a new illusionist, and it's all draconic stuff, and none of this plays in Prism. Oh, we're getting a new illusionist, and it's all ward and doesn't play in the previous illusionist. They do a lot of that. So I would, especially with Gravy being a talented Necro, I would not be surprised if the next Necro we get really doesn't interact with Gravy at all. But I think between this and the last video, you guys kind of have my opinion on the Tipple ban. I'm not a fan of this. I think this is the wrong thing to go after. I would go after Swell and maybe Blue Tipple. It makes Prismatic worse. It makes your ceiling worse. It requires you to actually like have to play blues in your deck, so you go below rate more often to like actually do the thing, because it's balanced similar to the MST heroes where the intended design is go below rate by playing blues, make up that rate by doing the quest that your deck does. But then you just play Swell and it's literally just above rate. It's not even below rate, it's literally above rate. Plume of Evergrowth. From her creation, Verdance was always envisioned to be a battle mage, weaving arcane and physical damage in equal measure. In testing, though, it was clear that the numbers for such a strategy didn't work. Pack enough arcane barrier, and the battle mage Verdance simply didn't deal enough damage over the course of the game to close out opponents. Thus, Rampant Growth Life was born, a combo kill that was exactly what Verdance needed to find windows to win. While decomposing was still challenging and the raw damage was simply not there, but with the addition of Burn Bear, and now especially with Light Up the Leaves, that's the new Burn Bear if you're not familiar with the card name, the math has changed and it's become easier for Verdance to decompose. Her chunk arcane damage is getting larger, and her tools will continue to evolve and improve as time goes on. This means it's time to take some points away from Verdance's endgame. While pure Rampant Growth life kills purposely take a hit with the banning of Plume of Evergrowth, the addition of Light Up the Leaves is the thing that really mandates the ban. Returning a 6 damage burn spell with Plume left Stormstrider's kills feeling near arbitrary in late game. I was feeling the same thing. Sup, Ashen Wings? By allocating power into other aspects of Verdance's gameplay, we hope to make the experience of playing against her more enjoyable and potentially make her matchup spread slightly less polarizing than it presently is. I agree with this. I think that if you do hit Gravy this hard, I mentioned this earlier, Verdance could be an issue. Verdance was like, we were talking about this earlier, gatekeeping. Verdance was getting kind of gatekept by Gravy. And let's say this ban is enough to push Gravy out of the meta. Because the thing is, they can't know what's actually going to happen from the ban, right? They have their theories. I have my theories. We all have theories. But we don't actually know what's going to happen. The ban list could come out, and Gravy is just terrible now. If that happens, Verdance is probably too good. No, I don't think H-Pots is the hit. Because the problem is you can do these shenanigans without H-Pot. Like, this ban isn't just going after the, like, giga combo. This is going after your small combos, too. Like, just you being able to kill your opponent out of nowhere is kind of a big deal. Just, oh, you thought we were playing a normal game of Flesh and Blood? Oops, 20 plus damage. Like, that's probably unreasonable for the deck to do. And you can still just combo kill people. Like, this should not remove combo killing from the deck. You can still do that. You just have to pitch stack it. You can't just free roll one of them with your hat. Sure, Battle Mage is boring, but I don't know if that's really the issue here. True, also that. But I like this ban. I think that, again, if you're going to hit Gravy this hard, you kind of have to do this. Because, like, let's be real, what's policing Verdance if you do this? I'm pretty sure Verdance is, like, best deck in format if you don't do this. And, like, now that's... I don't know if Prism counters it. It might. I'm not confident about that. Especially when the Verdance... Because Verdance has a really deep card pool and a lot of knobs it can turn. Let's say we move into a meta where Verdance is, like, the best thing you could be doing, and Prism is the only thing you possibly care about. You get to tool your deck in such a way where you gain a lot of percentage points in the matchup because that's the only thing you have to tech for. Nothing else can even face you. Hey, Smurf, what's up? I sent someone your direction the other day to go watch all your videos. We had a new guy on Prism at the AGE I was playing at, and he was looking for some... He needed some extra knowledge on the deck, and I pointed him in your direction. Enjoy the views. I was telling him how good your Prism guides are. I don't think Syndra beats Verdance. And now that's actually a meta, though, that would necessitate bans. Like, let's say we are in the world where Verdance is, like, by far the best thing you could be doing. That is an awful meta to play. Those games will be incredibly boring, incredibly grindy, really not that fun, really not that interesting to watch either. It's going to feel like you never had a chance, and you're going to have a lot of non-games. Just the Verdance decomposed really early, and then, oops, killed you with hat. I don't think that's good gameplay. I'm a big fan of this ban. If we didn't hit Gravy this hard, though, I think it's fine. You just leave Verdance as is. Maybe a small ban, but... Talk a big game. I obviously have no thoughts on this because I have no idea. But at this juncture, we have taken the feedback that if development believes... At this juncture, we have taken on the feedback that if development believes there is a dangerous deck with the potential to operate outside of acceptable parameters, our players prefer we address that deck in advance on release. Sentiment broadly seemed to feel that way when we waited too long to ban Zephyr Needle, even though a sanctioned classic constructed even though a sanctioned classic constructed game was never played with Needle Ira. Here we are trying to act with ample notice. I love this. I heckin' love this. Now, if only whoever's idea this was, whoever was driving the bus on this, get them on this. Get that person in charge of this. We're going to come back to that in a bit. But holy, I love to hear this. I hate this. With the release of Super Slam Talk, a big game would allow a couple of... We're learning another new word today. Loquacious? I heckin' love learning.
Loquacious.
What does that mean? That makes sense. True, ban scabs. Heckin' love learning. Heroes to run their mouth off a bit too much. In this case, we've chosen to preemptive action. Who knows if this was good in the new set? Someone remind me to come back and we can talk on this in a future stream once we know more about this set. Let's see what would actually be broken with this. I'm curious, but I'm sure as shit gonna forget by the time that rolls around. As much as I don't have thoughts about... Oh, wait, we skipped one. I'm still going to say my thought. As I have no thoughts about Talk a Big Game, I obviously have no thoughts about Blitz either, but we'll still read that. Germinate. Hey! We talked about that too, right? Hey, we did it. I got sold hard on Scab Should Be Banned after I lost like 2 win-ins at 2 different Pro Tours to my opponent rolling Scabs like 7 times in a row. You want to know how much I feel about Scabs? If they said, Pheno, you are no longer allowed to play an Illusionist or a Necromancer or any board state deck ever again in Flesh and Blood, but Scabs is banned, I'd say deal. I'd be the martyr. I would do it. I would die for everyone's sins. PTLA. That was yeah, I was playing Dromai, I think. God, that was cringe. Oh man, I had no business losing that game. I was so far ahead. And then he just kept rolling. There was a turn where he kept a 5-card hand and just said YOLO roll Scabs so that way he could open with Savage Feast. I was like, his hand literally doesn't play unless he hits a 4 or better, I think. Oh my god. Well, no, it wasn't Scabs and dunk me. It was Scabs, make me block out. Scabs, bring the game to parity. Scabs, now he's ahead. Scabs, okay, now he's really ahead. Scabs, okay, now he wins the game. It's never just the one roll of Scabs. Anyways, that's enough mauling over Scabs. Let's talk about a card that does not matter in the metagame. Germinate. Emblematic of our new approach to ban and restricted management, we intend to return Germinate to Florian's card pool. We still believe Germinate and Everbloom Life might give Florian one of the best endgames in all Flesh and Blood, but with Gravy Bones catching nerfs, a secondary predator for the heroes looking to go extra deep into second and third cycles should prove to be a healthy thing for the metagame. I never wanted to see Florian removed from the competitive viability, and it's clear that this current metagame already presents challenges for the hero. We are willing to return some support his way with acknowledgement that Florian's pre-high seas dominance led us to a bit of an overreaction. Yo, Cardfight, what's up? I mean, yeah, like this ban like literally does not matter. Germinate was like kind of a not that even good of a card. It was a card that you put in your deck because it said blue block 3 and earth, and you really did not cast it very often. It came up in like your like super fatiguey matchups, but like in the grand scheme of things, this like really does not matter that much. Blitz, following changes, blah blah blah. Talk a big game banned. The scenarios described about Talk a Big Game and Classic Constructed are just as present, if not more so, in the Blitz format, and for that reason, this ban will also be carried forward to Blitz. But not Living Legend? Why no Talk a Big Game ban in Living Legend, huh? Keck. Liar Charming Florian? Huh? Explain. All right. Strap in, chat. We got a long one to read here. Living Legend. Following changes, blah, blah, blah. Deadwood Dirge unrestricted. Early returns on our first efforts to bring Chain back to the rest of Living Legend field looked promising, with Deadwood Dirge restriction offering some noteworthy splash damage to Viserai and his Living Legend Armory deck. Wow! We are motivated and willing to attempt returning Deadwood Dirge to the card pool. Wait, where's the rest of the Living Legend article? I'm gonna finish reading the one line left, but I'm immediately gonna complain about this. I have more of a problem with this and this than what actually happened on the ban list. This is my actual crash out. Next scheduled ban and restricted announcement. The next ban and restricted announcement will be published Monday, November 3rd, and the changes will be effective Monday, November 10th. Huh? This is ridiculous. Okay, I'm gonna be like really candid with you guys. This is fucking ridiculous. Why are we doing this shit? It's the same shit that they did with High Seas of like the no notice type of event. Why do we keep doing the I don't know what the card legality is going to be for the event that I'm flying to thing? This is cringe with this. This is cringe with Living Legend being updated on Mondays. I hate this. This is so disrespectful to your players' time. I should know what the fuck is the card legality for the event that I'm going to before I fly to the event. And that being said, what the fuck are these Living Legend changes? There's just nothing written about it, but we will not get an update until right before Worlds. This is insane. This is so ridiculous. Like, this is a who's driving the bus type of thing of why are we doing this? I thought we were going to attempt to properly balance the format for Worlds. That was how I interpreted what they said in the previous Banned and Restricted article. So this is the one from May 20th, earlier this year. As we said time and time before, the Living Legend format has a massive role to play in the ecosystem of Flesh and Blood going forward. As proof of that, I am happy to announce today that blah, 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 it's going to be the World Championships. And one of the formats to determine our world champion in the lead up to Worlds. You can also expect more Living Legend events on the calendar, including the format's first ProQuest season. Bro, what fucking more events? Am I wrong on this? It was like 11 ProQuests in the world or something like that? Can someone tell me if I'm correct on that number? No callings. A battle hardened, I guess, just happened, but 39? Okay, that's more, but that's still insignificant. 39 is ridiculous. And of course, add on top of that, this is the season that if you do win a ProQuest, you can't play anymore, which is going to mess up the data and also make it impossible for some people to really even practice. Hey, get the actual number. Get the actual number if you guys can. I appreciate you. I'm not asking about skirmish season. I'm asking about ProQuest season. How do we not have some calling. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me continue reading this. As a part of our continued commitment to the Living Legend format, Balance will receive extra attention in the coming weeks and months. The first order of business is get Chain and Starvo back in line with the other heroes. What extra attention? This is extra attention? This is ridiculous. You're going to make this one of the main formats at the event. And that being said, there's going to be more games of Living Legend played than Classic Constructed because it's also the calling format. Okay, let's see. Are there any Living Legend callings? What are we right now? Are we November? No, we're over here, right? I did not open all of them. Unlucky. We're just going to open every single one. Classic Constructed. Classic Constructed. Classic Constructed. I'm not looking at any pro quests. I don't care. Classic Constructed. Okay, one Living Legend Battle Harden. 2. This is the World Tour. Classic Constructed. 3. What is this? Okay. Last one. 3 Living Legend Battle Hardens up until now and Worlds. No callings. What are we doing? Is that a Living Legend one? Let's just say it is. A 4th one. Who cares? Like, and let's be real. Let's be really real. A Battle Hardened is not the same shit. That is not enough money in the line for people to actually, like, spend their time doing that. It's, in fact, negative money to play a Battle Hardened. It's incredibly bad EV. How... Well, I know I keep saying this, but what are we doing? It's really not that deep. You schedule some living... Like, if you're not going to put the time in to test the format properly, I'm not saying that they are or aren't, but, like, this does not inspire confidence that they are, for sure. I'm assuming that they're relying on player data for the format. They even made a call out, I think it was in this one, saying that the changes to the decklist submission thing in Gem is going to really help them figure that stuff out. So they're relying on player data, but they're not going to schedule events to give them player data. What? It's so not deep. You schedule some callings. That is enticing enough for people to actually go to these events and bring out the good shit to try to win some money. Because you need to have a good enough carrot to get people to actually show up to these and give you good data. A battle hardened is not going to be very good data. That's just going to be people like, oh, I guess I have this deck in my bag and I'm not doing anything today, so because I'm here for the other event, so I guess I'll play this. I would say ProQuest data might be better data than the battle hardens, because if you're going to a ProQuest, you're probably saying, I'm going to go to a Living Legend ProQuest. For a lot of those battle hardens, I imagine they're like attached to a calling or something. You don't go to those like, oh yeah, I'm here for the battle hardened, I'm prepped for this. It's you went for the calling and you're gonna kill time Sunday playing the battle hardened, right? Like, what's in my bag? I guess I'll play that. That might be reductive, but not having events is crazy. Like, have some callings, schedule the BNR in between the end of the callings and the ProQuest season. So like you have like, let's say 2 Living Legend callings. That's probably good enough data for you to get a beat on the format. Do a BNR. See what happens in the ProQuest season. See if something rears its head and you got to make a change. Hopefully do nothing on this BNR, because realistically, this BNR should only exist to say no changes. This should only exist to be a oops button. We fucked up. We need to make changes. Because you're not doing sweeping changes to a format 10 days or whatever before the event starts. That's just not happening. I don't care if they're not the main focus. It's the main focus of Worlds. If you're not going to focus on the format that's at Worlds with this stuff, why did we make it a big part of the format and go out of our way to say we're going to spend time working on this format to make it balanced and everything? Like, this just screams it's lazy, and maybe lazy is the wrong word, but like, you understand what I'm getting at here. Like, this could have been implemented better. Give us another BNR. Give us some events to actually give them player data. And then we can have a great format. And then Worlds can be great. Because I think the counter argument is LL isn't a popular enough format and they won't want to run a calling that's on an unpopular format. My counterpoint is they did a WTR sealed calling in, what was it, like New Zealand or something, that nobody went to. Clearly that's not a metric they care about. If they're going to do that, that calling was for no one. That was for like locals to just relive their heyday of WTR. They didn't even stream day 1 of the event because they knew it would be such bad viewership. So if that's not the metric you care about for this, then why not run Living Legend events? I'm also okay with that. If you wanted to just say never mind on the Living Legend and just make it all classic constructed, hold the L on what you said before, I'm not happy about it, but I'd rather that. I'm down to just play classic constructed for 15 rounds. I'll be happy with that. This just does not inspire confidence. And this whole date thing, it's just like the high seas thing. It's honestly, it's pretty similar to the whole leaks thing. Again, we're not going to talk about the leaks themselves, but I'm going to talk about, the what happened of it slightly here. When you make your spoiler schedule that close to the event, you incur the risk of something like this happening, right? Let's say we did the spoilers earlier in the season. Yeah, sure, someone stole product or whatever, and like now you have all that to deal with. But you don't have your spoiler season ruined because you already did it. I don't know why we have to do the spoiler season so close to the event. Should you not want to be getting people hyped up for this, like, well in advance to give people time to plan to fly to this event and everything? Because that's what they do in other games, like Magic. I know Magic's like the complete opposite direction, where it's too many spoilers all the time. But I think we can find a happy medium that's somewhere in the middle here. And between that, between the high seas release, it's this constant last second type of thing. And we're going to hope nothing goes wrong. And then when something goes wrong, I can't believe this happened. It's just so frustrating seeing that happen. Because it's not like this is a one-time oops and we learn from our mistake. It's continuing to do this. And I think they like this. Like they love when there's the is Zen gonna LL or isn't it? Azalea my LL. It's like they enjoy the story, but that's not a good experience for the players going to the event. It makes it cringe to actually prep for the event. And imagine you're trying to play that deck and it rotates while you're in the air. And don't even say like, well, then you should prep 2 decks. What a one-head take. I've seen people say that. That's so, like, dude, I'm sorry, do you not have, like, a job and other things that you're doing in your life? Like, people have a life outside of the card game. That too. Like, should you not want people to get hyped for it? Because I know, like, if I was in a different position where, like, this event, the world premiere for this, I just decided that I'm going to go because it's in driving distance of me. That was an easy slam. I'll go to that. And I think I'm the wrong demo for this type of thing. So I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone that would be like, I'm only going to go if I'm excited for this set type of person. Because I imagine there's a lot of people that do engage with world premieres like that. I don't know. I'm just assuming. I'm not going to decide to fly to a world premiere when I've barely seen anything in the set. That seems pretty reasonable to me. I mean, didn't they even make a comment in this article about respecting people's time? I already forgot. But you doing your spoilers for the expansion slot stuff doesn't impact the world premiere, right? Like this doesn't change. I understand wanting to do the experience of discovery for the sealed format and everything. Expansion slot does not matter for that. Realistically, the most of the Majestics don't either. Just doesn't really matter. You're still going to get your experience of discovery. Yeah, exactly, Ouija. You can't just pick up a deck. I don't think Magic does spoilers right either. Like I said, they went too far the other direction where like pre-release is happening for a set and then spoilers are happening during that for the next 2 sets. And it's like, I haven't even opened my pre-release packs and you're flooding me with spoilers for the next set. What are we? That's wrong in the other direction. Like I said, we can find middle ground. We don't have to be Magic, but we also don't have to fucking do the stick in what's this meme? This. Like this doesn't have to be us with half of the decisions being made. We don't have to do this. We could just decide not to, right? Like, and I'm sure there's things that outside of my knowledge of all of this that, you know, obviously above my pay grade that I don't know, but I think it's a fair assessment that it does not hurt to have 2 BNRs between now and the worlds. Like, let nothing else. 2 BNRs, I don't think logistically changes anything from LSS's side, other than Brian has to write 2 articles, one of which says no changes. Hey Ethan, what's up? Yeah, I saw that the video he made like either today or yesterday or something like that. It's crazy. It's too much. It's too far in the other direction. I don't want to be Magic. There's a reason that I don't play Magic anymore. I spoke with my money. I went to play a different game. But it's stuff like this that makes me go, I've done it once, I'll do it again. I can speak with my money and play a different game. I don't want to quit Fab. But things like this, I was talking about this earlier. There's quit moments. These are quit moments for me. And I hate that. I don't want to feel that way about Fab. It's so annoying to me too, because I don't view myself as a negative person. I view myself as an extremely positive person. I like laughing and having fun and talking about the positive things. And I feel like over the past 2 years, I've had nothing but negative things to say about the game. That's partly why I stopped making content earlier this year. I'm sure you guys noticed, like after Japan, I just kind of cold turkey stopped making content because I was so frustrated. I was like, I just have nothing positive to say. And then more things like that kept happening, like the high seas thing. And I'm like, if I make a video, it's just going to be me complaining. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to put that out there. I don't want to just be shitting on the game. But I don't know. I'm making content now and I'm going to speak my truth. I think honestly, if Gravy wasn't so fun to play, I might have quit after the High Seas Nationals incident of that whole thing, because that was such a bad experience and so disrespectful. I know that there's logistical issues with tariffs and all that, but again, bike spoke meme. Just don't schedule the world premiere to be the week of nationals. Let's hope nothing goes wrong. We don't have to make decisions that say, let's hope nothing goes wrong, and if something does, we're fucked. All that being said, to circle back around, my thoughts on the bans. In a previous thing, we already talked about it. The Germinate ban and the Bonds ban, we called that. We like that ban. I don't agree with the Tipple ban. I think this should be Swell instead, or Blue Swell, Blue Tipple. And if you're going to take this approach, you do have to ban Plume of Evergrowth. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. Let me just check my notes pad, see if I missed anything. Okay, let's talk about the metagame. So, Gravy Bones, a little bit weaker. Slippy, a little bit weaker. Verdance, a little bit weaker. That's like the initial what happens here. Let's, for the sake of conversation, assume Gravy Bones is still a playable deck. I feel like he's probably a deck that functions, but I don't think he's going to be nearly as good as he was before. I think that this is going to hurt more than people probably think. I don't agree with you, Tass. Because here's the thing. Gravy gets knocked down a peg. But it's not just that. The deck that's checking all the decks that counter Gravy also got knocked down a significant peg. So Gravy's worse, and the decks that Gravy is countered by or checked by are going to be able to get through Swiss more easily. So on average, your bracket is going to be much harder. You're going to have to face more Syndras. You're going to face more Dios. You're going to face more Jarls and like all the decks that Slippy poops on are going to have an easier time getting through to you now. And you're going to have a harder time beating those decks. Because Tipple was pretty important for a lot of those matchups. It's how you beat the aggro decks by getting the stack of gold and then cashing them in with Swell typically. If we assume Gravy is still a good deck in the metagame, I'm not sure how much better Verdance is going to be. Because I think this ban in particular doesn't really impact the Verdance matchup too much. I think that's still probably going to be pretty difficult for Verdance. But if Gravy's play rate goes down by enough, then Verdance probably comes in and is incredibly good. Given the change, though, between Slippy and Gravy, I think Fang will probably go down significantly in how good it is. I think Fang was basically just preying on what the meta was. Had a really good matchup into Arachne because the anti Arachne cards it gets to play. It's able to establish a really good clock into Gravy and clear allies while having a Fridge of Armor. You know, it losing the reason to exist in the meta a little bit definitely hurts the deck. And then I think everything else that was already good basically is just a little bit better. It's the bigger thing is Slippy getting worse is going to make everything else better. So I think if like just the immediate metagame, we're looking at a very similar metagame, just, you know, Dio, Syndra, a little bit better. Maybe not Syndra. Syndra probably has a similar problem to Fang, where the deck that it's trying to prey on is Gravy, and if Gravy's a lower play rate, why were you playing Syndra? Jarl might also get worse. Jarl, in theory, is here to beat Gravies, but that has not really been proven. The Jarls that have done well haven't really... Like, the first Jarl literally didn't play a Gravy the entire event, and I think the second Jarl that topped played one Gravy, so I don't think that's really been proven out. Kasai is significantly better, especially with the new card. Ira is really good. I'm not sure if Prism actually gets better from this. Acilio might go up or down. It's kind of weird because like Acilio was pretty happy to face Gravies, but it was unhappy facing Slippies. So I think that's going to be how does the rest of the meta shake up? But I think beyond that, it's like the good decks just kind of are still good. Do I think Fatigue is viable into Gravy now? I don't know that this ban really changes the Fatigue matchups too much. I think it affects the faster matchups more. True. Acilio stonks. Been saying this for a while. Acilio's a really good deck. Turns out Aurora was a really good deck, but Aurora's not legal, so what's the next best thing? Play cosplay Aurora. It's still just really good. Acilio's really strong. Who knew the lightning card pool is strong? I'm not sure if Guardian necessarily gets better off of this. Well, you have to understand, Ethan. You cry wolf a lot. I think you've told us Levia's the deck every single meta. I think you were wrong every single meta. Fool me once. Fool me like 8 metas in a row? I think my moment where I was like, I'm not going to listen to you on cards ever again was when you were talking about your spoiler card for High Seas being really good. You didn't tell us what it was, but you were like, it's really good, it's really good. And then it was what, Portside Exchange, right? And you were trying to tell us that it was a power 9 from Magic and that it was Brainstorm. I didn't say anything. I was in the call when you said that. I didn't really say shit, but I got stun locked so hard by that. I was like, A, not power. Just not power. B is just not Brainstorm. There's no fetch lands. Kano time? Is it Kano time? That's a good question. Don't get me wrong, Portside is a really good card. Didn't you also think it was a generic card at first? And you were like, ah, damn it. Ah, dang it. Man, I was so stun locked by that. I was like, we just edit this and add tome here, and it's Kano time. Okay, let's be real. Is it Kano time? So what's pushing Kano out of the meta right now? Probably Slippy Gravy, right? Maybe. It's kind of hard for it to actually be Kano time with compliance. And you're probably going to catch strays on that because of Acilio Verdance. And people are going to have freed up sideboard slots because of Slippy. People don't need to play Snag anymore. I'm not sure it's actually Kano time. You're also losing one of your good matchups in Fang. I'm not a Kano player. So like you tell me, chat, what's the Slippy matchup like? I imagine it's not great. My assumption is it's playable, but kind of one of those like neither one of us is happy that we're facing the other player. They're not happy they got a Kano. You're not happy you got a Slippy. Is that kind of how that matchup works? I think if Kasai picks up in play rate, it might be Kano time. Because that should be a good matchup, right? Like usually the Warriors are good matchups, right? So my problem with the Kano, again, is people have freed up sideboard slots because you don't need Snag anymore. People might just like, I don't know what to make my last sideboard slot, so I'm just going to throw in Compliance, and that's going to be kind of tough. Okay, so it's playable. I just don't think Florian actually picks up in play rate from any of this. Like, I don't believe in this. I don't think Germinate actually does anything for Florian to make it a deck in the meta. So, like, I'm ignoring that aspect. I don't think the nerfs to Gravy Slippy meaningfully affect Florian. Because Slippy, I believe, was a good matchup for Florian, right? So he's not happy about that getting less popular. And if Gravy is still a popular deck, he's not happy about that. And if we look at it, if Gravy becomes less popular, its meta share is probably going to get picked up by Verdance, which I'm pretty sure also isn't a good matchup. So this seems kind of cope. Yeah, like it is a deck that functions. Like you can bring it to an event and you will feel like your deck did what it's supposed to do. But we're talking about what's actually good in the meta. There's also a chance Prism's viable. We'll have to see. It's always so meta specific on Prism, kind of like Kano. I don't think it has anything to do with what her card pool is. I think it's just like what are people playing and how much sideboard are they dedicating for her. I think if we look at the past couple of events, Prism looks pretty unplayable based on how many poppers. Initial meta tier list. Does anyone have a tier list thing that has all the heroes already in it? If I do make one, it's going to be kind of weird. It's not going to be like your ASB whatever. Wow, Josh, you came in late. You missed an hour and a half of stream. Not to see you after class. You already missed me crash out over the I crashed out really hard over this. Yeah, that makes sense on Acilio. Does anyone have a tier list? Found an old one. Does this have gravy on it? No. It won't let you what? It won't let you send it? Just message me on Discord or like drop it in general chat on Discord. Bro, my schedule's pretty set. It's Tuesday, Thursday, maybe every week at 8. It's always Tuesday, Thursday at 8. It's just do I actually stream? And I did actually have it scheduled on YouTube. Don't you blame me. Message request. Oh, you're stupid lit. Yeah, I'm not going to be on the Runaways this week. Cody said there's too many people that want to be on this week. Which is fine by me. It just means I'm going to stream instead. It's fine. I blame chat. I blame you. Wait, Josh, I blame you for not saying anything about my mic last week. I blame exactly you. Okay, so what do we want to do? Okay, I'm gonna do two different ban lists. I'm gonna do just like what I think their general meta placement is and kind of how they are affected by the ban list. I don't think I actually want to put anything in S because it's kind of unreasonable to call something S when we don't know what the meta is going to be. But like this is with a caveat. This is it. If Gravy is still good, it's probably up here. I think Gravy's like either here or here. Unclear. If I had more than one Gravy, I would put it in both of those. My initial impression is the deck is still playable, but it's going to be like Illusionist in previous metas where you beat certain matchups and you just lose certain matchups and you just get to play gem roulette. Woohoo. He doesn't even get a tier name. True. It's like somewhere here, probably. I just don't believe Kano. This is actually Kano's time, so I'm gonna put it here. Kano's like here or here or here, and such is the life of Kano, right? Yeah, it's Fang's unplayable into the Wizards, but like, for how is Fang better when his best two matchups are going to see less play? Like Slippy's still probably good. Mario's still probably good. So like something like this. Like, I don't think the meta actually drastically changes too much if we assume Gravy is still a reasonable deck to play. So like let's assume Gravy is still reasonable. He's not here anymore. He's here. I don't think the meta actually shifts too much. Now let's assume Gravy's like here. What happens if Gravy moves here? I think that happens. Like something like this. This moves to unplayable. I think both the assassins drop down a little bit. Probably something like that. Like, if these are good, I think it narrows the meta significantly. It all depends on how good Gravy actually is, and we're gonna need time with that to see. I literally haven't played a game yet with Gravy with the new BNR, so like, I don't know. No, Mario is affected by the ban because if Slippy sees less play, Mario is a little bit worse for it. Like, that was a good matchup for Mario. It's the same logic behind Fang dropping down from this ban. Like, you lost some percentage of getting to pair into two favorable matchups. Therefore, you drop down a little bit. Fang wasn't up here on the back of just being a really good deck. It was up here because it got to face two good matchups that were at the top of the meta. It was a meta pick. Same with Mario a little bit. Mario's just a very good... I think Mario is a better deck than Fang is. So I think Mario gets to hang regardless. But if we say Slippy was here before and Slippy drops down to here after the ban, well, then Mario drops down a little bit too, probably. But I don't think like Mario moves too much. It's probably like somewhere within this tier or this tier, wherever you decided that Mario went. And I can't imagine you want to play Mario into Verdance if that's the deck. Now, if the meta's like this, like it's a Celio's time to shine, then yeah, the assassins move up. But I can't imagine that's actually the case. True. Boom. Never. Jarl is cope. This deck is dog shit. We're talking about roughly where the heroes probably land based on how good Gravy is after the bans. This is not actually meta predictions. This is I've done two different versions of this tier list. I did what does the meta look like if Gravy's still here? If Gravy is still here, the meta looks completely different. If this BNR and the meta shift is really bad for Gravy and it drops down, because I don't think Gravy drops below this. I think he's still like a functioning hero that's going to have good matchups and he can play gem roulette. So he can only drop so low. But let's say the meta is really bad for him and he drops down. Things shift drastically and Verdance becomes one of the best decks. And I think if that happens, Acilio probably moves somewhere up here, like here or here. I think there's just going to be a yapping stream. We're gonna next, after doing some more tier list stuff, we're gonna do some deck building stuff. No, there's ways to play the mirrors without going to the draw. Okay, so let's redo this tier list. Oh, it saves it? How do I reset this? I don't know how to use it. Reset? Oh! Okay. Bro, imagine the world where that this does happen, where Huntsman's up here. That'll be the day that we all stop playing. Okay, what do we want to do? Was good got better, was good got worse. There's like definitely a better way to say this. I mean, I was talking about that earlier, where this gravy nerf doesn't actually change the ceiling of the deck. It hurt the consistency of the deck. So when the gravy just hits the ground running, like nothing happened, it's going to feel worse from the other side of the table because it's going to feel like no bans actually happened. That's why I didn't like this ban. I could see that, Nova. I could definitely see that. Where's the BNR? I gotta pull that back up. Wait, why is this just not centered? What is this nonsense? What is going on? Okay, I'm just gonna reopen this. What is this nonsense? Oh, it saved it. I'm so confused. Bro, I'm lost. I think this is what I want to do. This is not perfect because I'm kind of winging it here, but so Ira, Ira's a really good deck. I don't think this BNR really impacts Ira too much. She's still just a good deck. Needs another Rip. Bro, imagine if Riptide got the Assassin treatment where they just got a funny Majestic every set that was busted. Imagine. There we go. Right where he belongs. Let's just bang out some of the bad decks real quick. No change, still bad. Betsy. Where's Olympia? Olympia. Reinar. Reinar's like kind of interesting because like I think Reinar is like a meta specific thing, but I don't think we move into a meta that like is relevant for Reinar off of this. Teklo's unplayable. Zuri's unplayable. This is just actually unplayable, but whatever. This is unplayable. This is unplayable. This is unplayable. See, like we were talking about the how open the meta was earlier of like how many viable decks there were. You really got to consider just how much like of the decks that we didn't mention, just how many of them are just like unplayable dog ass decks. Just it doesn't matter what the meta would have been; these decks wouldn't see play anyways. And then when you consider that, it's even more impressive how many decks were actually viable in this meta. We should at least talk about KO. Yeah, sorry, Ethan. Fool me 8 times, shame on you. Or is that shame on me? I don't know. I'm not taking blame for anything. Shame on Ethan. Sorry, not sorry. Is there anything else reasonable to get rid of here? Let's at least talk about Puffin and Marlin real quick. Marlin definitely gets worse off of this. If there was a was bad, got worse tier, it would go in that. That was a good retirement. But yeah, she was bad before. She got worse after this ban. I don't think this does anything to meaningfully help her. It's not like the meta was the reason she was bad. Puffin similarly. Puffin does do some cool things. It's missing some glue pieces, very similar to Marlin, to make the deck actually function. And until then, it's just bad. Dory. I think the meta shift hurts this deck. I think Dory actually did have a place in the meta. Being a Dynamo deck means that you got some play into the Assassins, and you have a game plan into Gravy that's pretty good with the Dawnblade. So losing the Gravy matchup a little bit might be detrimental for Dory. I say losing. We don't actually know how bad it's going to be for Gravy, but I can't imagine Gravy getting worse is good for Dory, right? Like, you're already should be winning that matchup. So that just means you're going to see your good matchup less often. Katsu. I think Katsu's pretty good. I think there being less assassins in the meta is probably really helpful for Katsu getting to do its thing. Yeah, meta shift hurts this deck. So Dory didn't directly get worse from the ban list. Like, one of her cards was not on the ban list, so she doesn't go in like up here. I mean, we're gonna get to Florian. I don't think Florian actually got better off of this. I think Slippy going down in play rate probably helps Katsu quite a bit. I don't know if Gravy going down in play really matters for the Katsu too much, because I think into all the other aggro decks, Katsu's at least got a game. Like, Katsu seems like a pretty reasonable deck to play right now. I think he does not go in the Bravo tier. I think the meta shift probably helps Katsu a little bit. Probably not significantly, but I'm just gonna be going in order of what's written here, guys. I'm just literally gonna go in order of these. I guess we should do Gravy and Slippy first. Was good, got worse. Was good, got worse. Like, obviously, these two decks got hit by the ban list. We talked about them extensively during the day. I don't think there's too much else to add about them. Kano's pretty interesting. It's between these two. And, well, I actually don't agree on the Verdance. I think Verdance actually goes here. I think that despite her getting a ban, she is improved by this ban list. Gravy taking a hit is worth her taking a hit. Like, the thing pushing her out of the meta is Gravy. So if Gravy is worse, then that helps Verdance, is kind of how I look at it. Like, yeah, she was directly impacted by this. But I think the ban directly made her better. There's probably like a little bit overlap between the meta shift and the was good got better here. I probably could rephrase these a little bit, but I don't want to put too much more thought into that because I just want to bang this out real quick and then move on to deck building. Dio. Maybe I should just kill these two tiers. Maybe I should just kill the meta shift helps. I'm gonna talk about Dio and then I'll think about this again. Slippy going down in play definitely helps Dio. We'll have to see if Verdance picking up that slack hurts Dio too much. But Dio's really strong. So I could see her being able to outmuscle some of these decks. Yeah, let's get rid of these two tiers. What? Okay, whatever, man. Whatever. This is reasonable. Prism. I think Prism does get a little bit better off of this. The Slippy matchup and the Gravy matchup, I don't think were particularly good. It was one of the reasons that I wasn't playing Prism. The Slippies, at least at the Pro Tour, were typically playing a lot of D-reacts and poppers, which made it really hard for you to actually make any progress in the matchup. And then they give you Blood Rots, making it really hard for you to actually flip. It's really hard for you to play big hands into them or protect a good arsenal. It's just very hard to actually navigate that matchup. So Slippy getting a little bit worse is good for Prism. Is it enough of a nerf that it's enough to push Prism up? We'll have to see. But same with Gravy. I think Gravy was just like unplayable. People started developing a fatigue strategy for Prism, but I still think it's unplayable. If the Gravy knows that you're going to try to do that and hedges their sideboard in any sort of way, then you're still not beating them. Or if they just play smart and start flipping over your key cards in your graveyard so you can't rebirth them back, you just can't do that strategy anymore, and then you just get run over. So I think both of those decks getting worse is good for Prism. And if we see other aggro decks kind of take up some meta share, that's also good for Prism. She wants to play in a meta of aggro decks. And I think she's fine playing into meta of like Verdance Dio. Like, I'll play that, right? Like that's a functioning meta for her. Vincent. I'm not too knowledgeable on this one. I think one of the main reasons to play Vincent was Gravy Bones and Syndra. If Gravy Bones goes down in play, that also should mean Syndra goes down in play. So it's kind of the same thing that we were talking about earlier with Fang, where two of the reasons that you're playing this deck are going to go down in play. So that kind of hurts Vincent. But I do think Vincent's very powerful and does some very good things, but I don't think Vincent really benefits that much from this ban list. Do we need to say anything about this guy? Probably should have just been here in the initial run. It's not just that it's hard to play. It's the deck has failure states where shit can just fall apart, and you don't always have control over that. It's just kind of how the cards come to you. And there are decks that have meaningful counterplay into you, so it's pretty difficult. But it's the same reason. Like, I think you're looking for a meta where Victor is also pretty good, where you're always able to get value on defense with your cards, like being able to block, because your small hands are very good. I think we might be moving away from that a little bit. Like, you want to block a little bit. You don't want to block your whole hand. But you also don't want to not block at all. I don't actually agree that she's a counter to Prism. I've beaten most of the Vincents that I played against. It's very technical from the Prism side, but the matchup's actually playable. You like find a spot to juice them typically on the Prism side, where this is like at least how I played it in the past. I haven't played this matchup in a bit. I don't even know if I would call it a check, honestly. Like, I'm saying I don't think it's a bad matchup. I think it's like pretty even. You're basically just sitting down as the Prism saying you cannot take an off turn. If you take an off turn, the game falls apart. Can your deck kill me before it's forced to take an off turn? And that's a tall ask on the Vincent. Their deck doesn't necessarily always operate that way. Especially if they're building their deck in such a way to play into a metagame where they're expecting to block with a couple cards every round, like a Syndra meta. If they construct their deck in such a way where they're like playing an anti-fatigue version of the deck where they're just trying to play 5-card hands every turn, then I think that does poop on you. But I don't give a shit what mid-tier players are doing. I'm not making a tier list of like what happens when someone's bad at the game. That doesn't have any value here. Because like what typically happens is you're playing pretty defensive on the Prism side. You're taking some leak damage, of course, but like you're playing pretty defensive. Typically they'll go down a little bit with you because they're taking blood debt, just kind of by nature of how the deck plays. This doesn't really matter. Don't worry about this. Okay, don't focus on that. I'm not ranking them by like which one got worse than the. I don't care to talk about that. Her failure state is she runs out of incantations. That happens. Like, some games you see all of your incantations in a clump at the beginning, and your opponent just blocks, and then you just run out of incantations, and you go, well, fuck, my deck just doesn't work anymore because I'm out of incantations. Or you just don't like draw a hand with a rune gate in it. You just can't do anything this turn, so you have to take it off turn. Or you draw a rune gate that is not the appropriate cost to the number of rune chants that you're going to have in play. Just like this shit just happens when you're playing the deck, and you can't really manipulate that too much. But you'll be going down with the Vincent in life, taking some chip damage. They're taking some blood debt. They're usually ahead on life. They're forced at some point to take an off turn, and you end up pivoting off of that. You end up stripping some cards from their hand, typically with like a Herald of Judgment or something like that, making their next hand worse. And then you Figment of Judgment one of their Runegate cards and banish, making it so they can't play next turn, but they already blocked. So now their next hand kind of doesn't really do anything since they blocked and lost the card that they were planning on playing. So they kind of just skip their turn. And then you do something like that again. And you get like a couple rounds of just like not letting them actually play the game. And shit just kind of falls apart after that. And you just like kind of chain their hand for a number of rounds. You get a bunch of shit in play. And it's just like really annoying for them to actually start playing the game again. Doesn't always work, but I've had a lot of success doing that. I've done that to a number of Vincents, and it's been pretty good. Sure. You know, it's great when they set up double gate, especially if it's with like a oh god, what's the make 4 rune chance, but they all die at the end of the turn. When they play that, you then Halo to kill their rune gate card and banish, and they look like a fool. Because you do get to brick some of their turns with your Halo. You have like a couple Revel, thank you. You have a couple spots where you get to brick their turn during the game. And usually that's good enough for you to like get back into the game. Okay, so Jarl. I think Jarl got worse off of this. I think you're playing Jarl because you're trying to target Slippy Gravy. Same as we said before, this meta shift is not good for him. And I don't think Jarl is actually a good hero. Oldhim wasn't the hero. Crown of Seeds was the hero. The card pool isn't actually very good. You've got Channel Lake Frigid, and that's about it. Like, you just don't actually have good cards. It's like Oak and Old Channel Lake Frigid. Your card pool isn't very good. His hero power is pretty medium. His weapons suck ass. There's other heroes that can just, like, exist with a fridge of armor. I just don't think that he is very good. All you're trying to do is do the Guardian thing, where you're punishing aggro decks. And just like play a really defensive strategy and kind of fatigue them from there. I just don't think that's a very good strategy in the current metagame. I don't think that's a good strategy, period. All you're saying is, do you have a game plan to beat fatigue? Because he can't play a value game. He's incapable of doing it. So if I wanted to play a Guardian with a value game plan, I would just play Victor. Speaking of which, where does Victor go since we're on him? I think he on average is probably worse also. Yuanji's version of the deck was pretty good into Gravy, and it was beating up on Slippies because the Slippies are basically just ninjas. And like we said before, if Syndra gets worse off of Gravy going down in play, then that's another reason for Victor to go down and play a little bit. I don't think Syndra's like significantly worse off of Gravy getting worse, and Slippy getting worse does help Syndra a little bit. So I think she's like kind of here where it's like kind of a break even for her. Like, yeah, the thing she's targeting is probably less popular, but the thing that was pushing her out of the meta also got worse. So it's like kind of a wash. So we'll have to see how the meta actually shakes up. If Florian picks up in popularity, that's really good for Syndra because that's a really good matchup for her. I don't know how the Verdance matchup goes. I think that's the question mark there. But if we think that like Prism gets more popular, if we think Dio gets more popular, if we think Katsu gets more popular, I can't imagine any of that's particularly good for Syndra. I don't know on Verdance, so I'm not going to speak on that one. Prism typically bullies ninjas. Like, that's just a good matchup for her, typically. Dio bullies other aggro decks, just like Prism does. And I imagine Katsu's good into that. I have no idea. I've never played that matchup, but that seems like if we're both saying no blocks, my on hits are more important than yours. Yeah, it certainly is a race with Dio. You know who wins every race when you make it a race? Dio. Dio is the best racing deck in the game. If both of us say no blocks, Dio always wins. She just does more value than any other deck in the game if we will just flip over the top of our deck and just add up the numbers. She's got more power cards. Instead of mask, you've got items on the off of the top, but the items off the top are typically worth more than a mask trigger. You do start at less life, but every time you're hitting a boom grenade, you're getting the gunshot plus the value off of the item on the top. You only have to do that a couple times to make up for the difference in life total and be ahead. Like the first item makes up for the life loss, and then everything after that kind of just like, yeah, they're just head jabs. Syndra isn't actually a good hero. Like, it's just head jab, head jab, head jab, finisher, right? It's a good value deck. You've got good math, but she's not doing anything that inherently powerful. The power in what Syndra does is its ability to close games, because closing games is difficult to do in Flesh and Blood, and she kind of trivializes that quite a bit. And actualizing damage. She guaranteed reduces your opponent's life total every round because of the Flick Knives damage. And that's not something that you can say for every aggro deck in the game. That's a very big strength that she has. Flick Knives is very powerful. That doesn't necessarily matter when you're playing against another aggro deck that isn't blocking anyways. Like, the value in true damage doesn't matter when they were never blocking to begin with. And they can still block mask. Like, a Dio can just choose to fight over mask. I was saying, like, in that math, with the assumption Dio is just letting mask happen every turn. She's probably not. She has armor. She can block. Like, she's allowed to fight over mask. She's not legally obligated to say no blocks all game. Syndra? You don't really get that option. When there's a boom grenade on the table, are you actually fighting over that as Syndra? Like, yeah, let me give you my armor fridge on a 0 to 60. Like, that's just not reality. Like, come on. I do think this matchup is a little based off of the play draw. Like, there is a significant advantage to whoever gets to go second there. No, we're not I mean, you were here earlier when I crashed out about the bottom of the BNR, right? Florian. I think the deck still sucks. I think that if Gravy is still good, Florian still sucks. If Gravy isn't good, Verdance is probably good. If Verdance is good, Florian isn't good. I think in both outcomes of how the meta is going to shape up, Florian holds an L. And one of the matchups that like was actually good for you is Assassin. And if that goes down in play, that's also bad for him. And if Syndra is still a part of the meta, that's also bad for him. He doesn't actually want to face Syndra. That matchup's terrible since she got the new dagger. This is just like my perception of how the meta kind of shapes up from the CC bans. Like, who got better, who got worse? How did this actually impact things? Yeah, Germinate makes your fatigue matchups better. That's all it did. That's not really relevant right now. Like, cool, your fucking daily grind Victor match got better. Okay. That doesn't really move the needle. Your Decomposes is a little more consistent. That's cool. But in the current state of Flesh and Blood, I don't think that really matters. Acilio. I think Acilio gets better off of this. Slippy going down in power and potentially in play rate is good for Acilio. It's kind of the Syndra thing though, of like it's kind of a wash. I think you're kind of happy playing Gravies, but I think your Gravy matchup is, I think you're less happy pairing into a Gravy as a Cilio than you were as a Syndra pairing into a Cilia or into a Gravy. My perception of the Verdance matchup at Nationals was that Verdance was pretty significantly ahead in the matchup with Lucas's version of the deck and probably also Majin's version of the deck. And I don't believe Lucas was really trying to combo that matchup. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't. Let me see if I can find his old Fabry list. I'm not going to show you guys it, but I just want to see how he boarded. That'll tell me everything. Verdance. Not Singapore. Okay, so he's not winning that way. So the way that Lucas had this boarded, my perception is that this band doesn't really change very much. Especially with you getting the new arcane spell. People already played Reaping Blade in that matchup. What are you talking about? Like, you just can't actually win that matchup as Florian. You just don't have the clock to, like, actually kill. And you get IP'd so much because they just go face with arcane damage and you just don't get a chance to block. I don't think Germinate really changes that matchup too much. If anything, the Germinates can't gain you life. Deny redemption. Baby? Feels like we're really stretching. Okay, what if we, like, Giga Tech the Florian deck for this matchup? That being said, you might just lose to Evergreen Loop at the end of the game with all this cute shit. I'm willing to humor that Florian can play this matchup. I'm willing. I don't see the vision. Someone can prove me wrong, but I can't imagine this meta is, like, great for him. And this is the assumption that Verdance is, like, the deck. Like, Verdance is the top of the meta. And I don't know how likely that actually is, because Gravy might still be really good, Slippy might still be really good, and then Verdance is, like, kind of here. But I think Verdance is a winner off of this ban list, especially with the new card. What about the Verdance ping? Yeah, if you missed me talking about it, that's we're having the assumption that there's two different assumptions. Gravy Bones is still a very good deck, and Gravy Bones moves down a number of tiers and is just a playable deck. There's two different timelines. And the timeline that Gravy Bones is still reasonable in the meta, Gravy Bones is probably like A. Verdance is not that great. If Gravy Bone moves down significantly, then Verdance probably moves to the top of the meta. That's not really reflective by the way that I'm doing this tier list, but you can scroll back to my other tier lists in the video if you want to talk about that. Because this is the third tier list that we're talking about. No change, still good. I don't think Kasai was really impacted by this too much. I mean, like, all these older designed heroes just, like, aren't that great in the current metagame. We'll see with the new cards. And we talked about Fang at length. Both of these decks getting worse is bad for Fang. He was preying on these two decks, so if these go down and play, that's bad for Fang. I think Arachne kind of goes here. Marionette. Yeah, Slippy going down and playing a little bit is probably bad for him, but, like, I don't think the bonds really impacted him too much. I think he's still just a good deck. He's probably, like, between these two, but I think it's reasonable. We're gonna come back to Kano in a second. Surely Valda, like, technically got worse because Gravy Bones got worse, but, like, come on, what are we doing? We're not actually submitting Valda to an event. This deck is terrible. Yeah, I could see that. This could definitely be the case, but I think this is pretty safe to assume. And then Kano. Kano, like, probably technically got better off of this, but there's also a chance that he got worse. Like I said before, people freeing up sideboard slots from Snag might make Kano worse, just them being able to put compliances in their deck, and you might be catching strays from Acilio Verdance of people actually respecting these decks in their sideboarding. So it's pretty reasonable that there's just more compliances running around in the meta. If you look at the Pro Tour, there was actually a lot of compliances running around in the top 64. So I would not be surprised if nothing changes for Kano. If anything, this gets worse for him. Unless the meta turns into a bunch of aggro decks and he's just able to go kabloom to all of them. You put Fang a bit below what? You want him here? Well, there's no more below. He was good and he got worse. He's not still good. He's not bad. I'm just making a new tier for Kano, honestly. Because let's assume that Kano tier. Let's assume the snags don't get replaced by compliances, and compliance, like, is not really in the meta. This could be a good meta for him of if there's a bunch of aggro decks and he just goes kaboomed all of them. Doesn't necessarily look like that's going to be the case. If the meta turns into, like, Kasai and aggro decks, maybe. But I don't see it. Could happen for, like, one event and just, like, Kano sneaky sneaks his way to the top, but this doesn't look great for him. This is a weird tier list. I'll say that much. Any thoughts before we move on to the deck reconstruction of Gravy? This is why I don't like playing Prism. I hate losing to my own deck. Bro, we're gonna be hair maxing soon. I had to do an initial cut to get what I actually want. Also, the person just like didn't do the cut I wanted. So I have a hairstylist that I was going to before. Um, it was like the girlfriend of one of my magic friends, and I would just like go to their place and she would do my hair. But she started doing hair in like bumfuck nowhere, and by the time she gets home, she's like, I don't want to take on extra clients when I get home. So I asked her forever ago where she had for a suggestion for where I should go to get my hair done for this particular style I wanted. And then she just like didn't respond forever. So I said, fuck it, figured out my own place to go. Literally the next day after I got my hair done, she told me where I should get my hair done. And I was like, God damn it. Whatever. At least I know for the next one. One sec. I'm going to show you what I want to get done for my hair.
After
I want something like this. I do need to get like kind of get it cut shorter and then grow it out, fix it, grow it out, fix it for this type of cut. So like it needed to go short for me to do this anyways because my hair was just kind of ridiculous. It was hard to see on like stream before, but it was like literally down to my belly button. It was way too long. Okay. So we lost Tipple. So what does this actually mean for the deck? We lost 6 gold generation from the deck. We lost 6 activations of Hook. We lost 6 discard outlets. We also lost some attacks from the deck for like physically reducing our opponent's life total to 0. So I think first we start by fixing the gold by adding some more gold to the deck. Nope. Not Yugu. Get the fuck out of here, you fat fuck. I don't necessarily want exactly his hair. It's just he's the only one that I can actually find that has like the men's haircut version of what I want, that has good pictures of it and like does 360s of it so I can like show a hairstylist it was incredibly difficult actually finding men with this haircut on Google. Let's cut this also. So we added in 7 gold generation to the deck. This only adds in 4 hook activations though. Hopefully that's fine. We're making 1 more gold on average because we have 6 plus 1, and theoretically this can happen more than once a game, and we do shuffle sometimes. So I think the combination of these two kind of average out to be close enough. Because of us having less discard outlets in the deck, this presents 2 problems for the deck. One, our hero power is going to be overtaxed in the deck. And I'm just gonna put all the cards in the deck because I'm just doing this for YouTube right now, so the sideboards don't matter. I just want to be able to visualize this easier. So we lost discard outlets in the deck. One, This makes us overburden our tapping of our hero and just the hero power in itself significantly. It means that it's much harder for us dealing with multi-ally hands or any sort of like, I want to discard this for an effect. I think this makes Sea Legs significantly worse in the deck. So I'm kind of inclined to cut this card. And then add in another Tip the Barkeep, because I do want Gold Kiss in the deck. I is whatever. I could see I not being as good without as much gold, but we currently actually have added one more gold generation to the deck than we did before. Because 6 Tipples is 6 gold. 3 Loan Sharks and a Riches is 7 gold. That's technically more gold. This is 2 less activations of Hook, but we get to Riches multiple times a game. I don't know what Tip the Barkeep is an auto 3 of? Sure. Seafloor is kind of weird. I think Seafloor is like the obvious one to go to like, oh, put this in the deck so we can make more gold. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I'm going to be stewing on this card. Anyway, I'm going to play some games and try to figure out what I actually think about this card some more. Removing Sea Legs and yellow Tipple from the deck mean that we physically have less yellows that are going to enter our graveyard that we want to flip face down. So this effect is actually worse in the deck than it was before. I do think also because of that, because I think we are going to be a little bit reliant on that and Scuba. I do want to add another Prismatic to the deck. I think I actually do want another yellow in the deck that I can flip over, but I honestly can't really think of anything that I want to add to the deck that's a good yellow. I'm going to think on this some more, but I really would like another one, but it's so tough because like I don't actually want to play yellows, right? Like it could be that we opt out of yellow into yellow swell instead of red swell. That could be the case. Speaking of which, let's put that in our maybe board. I think Royal does become a bit better now in the deck also. I'm not sure if I actually want to play Royal. I'm going to think on this because I do think I still might want Balance in the mirror. That's a little more dubious though. Balance might not actually be that good in the mirror anymore, but it's incredibly good versus Syndra. So we're going to revisit this over time. Just at least know that's something kind of in the back of my head. So I think this change more or less addresses the gold issue. It's close enough. It's good enough. Whatever. We have an issue still with discarding allies and getting our guys in the bin if we draw multiple allies. That was the real strength of Tipples. You weren't screwed when you drew multiple allies in a hand. And with this current configuration, we kind of are. Because the other thing is, if we're making less gold, which might not be the case, but let's assume that we have less gold than average now. One of the things that you would do when you drew extra allies and like your hand doesn't play and you just like you can't just like skip turn here, is you would just pitch an ally to the gold to draw a card and just mulligan the ally. And that might not happen as often anymore. We might need to be more conservative with our gold. So that being said, I think I want to add some more ways to get rid of bonus allies. I think I want to add the boner technology to the deck. Jittery Bones or Restless Bones. My current inclination is just play the blue of each of them. We might end up adding in the red boner to the deck. We'll revisit that. We'll come back to that over time. I also think Sloop for the similar reason of what I was just describing with the having to be more conservative with allies, on more conservative with gold. Sloop also gets worse because typically with sloop you're drawing off of gold then playing the sloop. So and I actually think I just want to cut this stupid ass card. It's probably going to end up back in my deck at some point, but like I just have not really enjoyed playing it. I think Snag also can come out. Granite Dominion gives more go first advantage, right? Technically. Thoughts on Tricone on as an on-demand option? When this defends, you may discard a card with Watery Grave. If you do, draw a card. I think the Royal Hat's probably better than this most of the time because 50% of the time you're going to be going first, and I'd rather have the Royal Hat going first. It also means that I can activate my hero power going second whenever that matters. I think this is just worse than Royal most of the time. So I already had Jittery in the deck because we're a Prismatic Leyline deck. I actually added in an extra one over the blue sloop before this even happened because of how the mirror had changed. Nice seeing you, Fab Blazing. Thanks for joining the stream. Hope you get back your tome one day. Anyways, I added in an extra one of these because of how the mirror had changed over the past couple of weeks. With the fatigue strategy kind of popping up with seafloor salvage plus infinite scubas, one of the problems became having, specifically because of the scubas, having clumps of allies at the bottom of your deck. So one of my strategies in the mirror became playing extra copies of these with the intention of pitching them, so that way when I come back around to that hand in second cycle, I'm not just like fucked for having an all ally hand. Turn a weakness into a strength was basically the idea. But I think these became even better now with this current construction. There's an interesting balancing act that now, though, with me having extra boners in the deck, it does make me want to put more allies in the deck or Watery Grave cards to make these active more often. But with us having less discard outlets with less tipples, that does make that a little more dubious. So there's a bit of a balancing act there that we got to work on over time. I don't have the answer for that right now, but that's something in the back of my head. Like maybe we add more allies, or it could even just be adding in some amulets so that way they're just blues. So it's like, whatever, there's still a blue for the turn if I draw into it. And those are just reasonable anti-fatigue cards anyways. That's what I'm saying, Greg. The Watery Grave blues. The gems. I'm kind of a hater on the gems, at least in the way that the deck was constructed before. I didn't really care for them. I felt like I did not need these to win fatigue games, and they were just kind of useless the rest of the time. I like the Prismatic Leyline way more than that. There's a chance that this is also too many boners, because drawing multiple of these is kind of a brick. But them being blues, I think, mitigates that quite a bit. Yeah, I can see Sigil of Cycles. The other one that I was thinking about was Trade-in. Like, so I'm not a fan of the red boners because they're red. The fail case of this not being live in my hand at the moment is it's a blue. And blues are already good to cast because I have 3 prismatics. I get the feeling this is too many, so like let's shave one. And I think this largely solves the issues that the deck is going to have in the short term, so it is at least a functioning deck. I've thought about wage. As all people building Gravy has done, I have gone to the search bar and just typed in gold. as everyone has done, I have done that. I don't really like wage gold. I think if you're going to play wage gold, you would instead play what's that stupid card? Swindler's Grift. It's Tipple that's more expensive and bigger, but it doesn't have go again. I've seen some people talking about this card. I think this is kind of cope. Our action point is so valuable in the deck. I don't think this is particularly good. You might be able to get this work if you went with a build with limpets, but that's kind of dubious. I'm not really interested in doing this. I think I'd rather just do other things. I'm a fan of 2 Swabbies personally. I like having more than one in the deck. That's just me. It's a preference thing. I don't feel too strongly about it. I found myself wanting to have more than one in a game a lot of times. Scions? Oh, Scuba? Yeah, I was already on 3 Scuba before this change. Scuba's my guy. I got that dog in me. Now, one thing too with constructing the deck this way of moving these reds to blues is this also did make Swell significantly better. We're on 39 blues. Swell's really good, and this is with me on 77 cards. So I think if we wanted to add in more Swells, that's like pretty reasonable. I do think Swell got a little bit worse though. With you making less gold, it does make Swell a little bit worse. So Scuba's rate is reasonable. It's a 3 resources for 8 value. That's just like kind of the rate you're looking for on a lot of your allies. So Scuba's worth 8 value, same as Anka, same as Cuddy. They all get 8 value for 3 resources. He's gold generation. 4 health is actually like kind of annoying to clear. If you look, a lot of the metagame before this was decks that were dealing 3 damage, not 4. Syndra, a lot of 3s. Slippy, a lot of like holy 3s. Gravy, also a lot of 3s. Like most of your small like go again attacks were 3 or less. So clearing Scuba was like kind of annoying. There's actually not that many like 0 for 4s in the metagame. So dealing with it was like actually a non-trivial thing. The other thing it does is it helps not just in the mirror, but it helps in fatigue matchups because it puts your prismatic ley lines back in the deck to add more total deck damage so you can have some big rounds later in the game. So it consolidates a lot of roles in the deck. It's not just good stats. It's not just gold generation. It's not just anti-mirror tech, and it's not just anti-fatigue tech. It's everything. It's the full package. He's my guy. Got that dog in me. You can make 2 Humperdinks work. It's a preference thing. I will say Humperdink won me a single game this past weekend. Against the Jarl, he put the -1 counter on my compass. It's like pretty early in the game, like maybe turn 3 or 4. It was like early enough where I was like, oh, that's kind of unfortunate. Not unlucky, just unfortunate. At that point, I had like kind of mediocre board. I think my board was like 2 scubas. It wasn't like anything crazy. And when you did that, I just went, fuck you. Here's a Humperdinck. You can kill my compass, or you can kill my Humperdinck. You choose. He chose the compass. He killed my compass. I ended up, and then he drew multiple hands that physically could not clear a Humperdinck. I got like 4 or 5 attacks with that Humperdinck. That was the best Humperdinck I've had in my entire goddamn life. While the compass counter that early was unfortunate, the Humper living that long was incredibly lucky. We take those. I think I still won that game regardless, though, based on my pitch stack. I had made quite a bit of damage progress already, like prior to that. And I killed him like, let's say I just get the 2 swings of Humperdinck. Because I get the 1 swing of Humperdinck, he kills my compass, I get the 2nd swing of Humperdinck. Let's just assume it stops with that. I think at that point, he's at the, like, 20s. If we exclude the other 2 Humperdinck swings, I had 3 turns in a row with Conqueror the High Seas plus other stuff. And I got to cast Prismatic Leyline. If I played my entire deck, which I didn't get a chance to, I would have cast Prismatic Leyline 5 times that game. So I think I just like presented enough total damage, irregardless of the Humperdinck, that it just would have killed him. I could see that. I think what I might want to do is like put in another back alley and then put in some swells. What I might do is experiment with yellow swell. Because I don't know how much losing 1 damage like really matters in the grand scheme of things. It depends if this card is just for the aggro matchups. If it's just for the aggro matchups, then like I'm not really seafloor salvaging there anyways, so it just doesn't matter. Bro, I'm blind. Holy shit. There it is. Yeah, let's try experimenting with 2 yellows. I really want to try trade in also. I think I just want like 2 trade-ins. Because I don't want to draw these in multiples. Why the talisman? What talisman? This is my maybe board. If that's what you were looking at. One other interesting thing, too, is the average block value of the deck does end up going up with this BNR. Tipple becoming Loan Shark, increasing the average block value by 3 points. I'm not a Barracuda enjoyer in the mirror. That's just like not how I want to play the mirror. What does that acronym stand for? I have no idea what you're asking, Drax. No, but Talisman of Echoes does go in the deck sometimes for meta-specific things. It's It's for Acilio, so that way they can't combo you with Gone in a Flash. Give no quarter, thank you. Give no quarter is reasonable in the deck. I think if you're like relying on a Humperdinck endgame to beat some decks, give no quarter can come in. I'm not, so I don't want to play that card. I actually do really want to fit some Ankas in the deck, though. Like, I really want to get like 2 Ankas in there and have something like this. But this is like more allies than I actually want in the deck. It was just give no quarter. That was the only. I've never seen someone use an acronym for give no quarter. Anyways, 5, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18 allies. That's kind of more than I want to play. I'm like I personally like 16, 17. I can't like articulate why. It's just a feels thing. I really like that number. It feels like kind of the happy medium. What I saw people doing before, if you want all the data behind this, I got my spreadsheet on the Patreon going over all the Gravy deck list data. Go check it out. It's $5 a month. People were typically playing like 15 allies if they were doing the prismatic leyline stuff, and if they weren't on the prismatic leyline stuff, then they were going for like 17, 18. This kind of like takes that slot essentially. Bro, I don't apologize for the questions. Ask away. I don't care. Give no quarter EA does look nice. I really like the card. I think Give no quarter is like a very good card. You just need to understand what the role of the card is, and then once you understand the role of the card, you see that it just doesn't typically fit with the deck. I have played 0 games of the new ban list, so I don't. I was busy with work stuff yesterday, more work stuff today, and then started stream. I haven't played any games yet. We'll probably do some games this Thursday, I guess. Maybe Friday, because I have AGE 1K this Saturday. The ban list is already in effect, right? When does it go in effect? Yeah. So I should probably play some games under the new BNR before going to the AGE. Then again, YOLOing it has never stopped me before. Bonus lore. For Pro Tour Lil, this is the one that I top 8'd. I literally didn't play Flesh and Blood for 2 weeks before that. Practicing is fake, Keck. I don't. Yeah, that swell does make it worse, but I don't think that's the main issue with it. The main issue with it is the actual cost of your allies. You don't actually have that many allies that get value off of Give No Quarter. It's Chum, Swabby, and Whaler. Now, using it as a pitch stack card to go with your Whaler, that's a great game plan. It's because you basically need a 5-card hand to play Whaler otherwise. With that, it reduces the number of cards you need by 1. That's really good. But the rest of the time is just like it's kind of inconsistent. You're only getting 2 value out of it sometimes. It's just not very good, especially when you're playing things like Scoob, where it's like it literally costs 0. You guys with the acronyms, I don't know what the fuck this shit means. Ask questions. Actually, stop, but don't use acronyms. Like, anyone knows the acronym of a goddamn Betsy card. I couldn't even tell you what a Betsy card, like, what the specializations for Betsy do, let alone what it's named. Ah. Where is the damage coming from? So I replaced the Tipples with Restless Bones and Loan Sharks. Restless does add back in deck damage, so I think we're fine on that respect. It's not like Tipple deals that much damage, to be honest. Yeah, I might just like cut the seafloors, honestly, for the trade-ins. At least to experiment. Like, this probably ends up going back in the deck, but this is worth testing, right? So Luther Arsenal isn't a bad card, but the play pattern for a lot of decks is to just not play with an Arsenal because they know that the best card in your deck kills their Arsenal. So people just like don't Arsenal against you, or they play Crown of Providence. So it's not great. I did also add in a third ley line. And I added in some yellow saltwater swells. We're going to be trying the saltwater swells. The idea is that I cut the sea legs from the deck, so I want to put in a few more yellows in the deck so I can actually have things to put back, flip face down or put back in the deck with Scoob or, well, it was, what's his face? Hey, Andrew, I'm doing well. Yes, Florian, high contender to be enemy number 1 in my no changes still bad tier, for sure. I think the deck sucks. I don't think this meta like looks particularly good for Florian. I don't think Germinate meaningfully does anything for him. What did I say for allies? I had 18, right? 3, 6, 10, 13, 16. Okay, we'll just leave it at 16 for now, just for the sake of ease. Do I actually need these yellow swells if the only thing is Scoob? Right? It's just Scoob? What about Lone Shark? Here you guys go. If you guys want to mess around with the deck. Again, if you're messing around with this on your own, the other things that I'm considering, maybe balance comes out for the Royal Crown. We might not need balance anymore for the mirror. Is trade-in actually good? Maybe it needs to be more boners. Same with boner. Is boner good enough? If we end up putting in seafloor salvages, do we need to add more yellows? In which case, it's probably turn the swells into yellows or find something else to play for a yellow. Oh, I don't think I'm putting Lone Shark under with Scoob. I don't think that's ever happening unless I'm like really down bad and I just need the gold. So yeah, Royal Hat, maybe Yellow Swell. You could also find space for Fearless if you wanted. I'm not concerned with that right now because I'm just trying to make the deck function. This is like such a not a priority right now. Potentially some Watery Grave amulets to go with the boners in the deck. Yeah, it could be Sigil Cycles. I think Trade-in is probably better because it's the same card, but you get a point of damage, which matters when we're playing Prismatic Leyline and we're playing a deck that's fatigable. The difference is that you can play Sigil not from Arsenal, but the other problem with Sigil is you don't actually know if the Sigil is going to do anything next turn, right? Like, it could just do nothing. Like, oh, I didn't draw an ally, fuck. You know when the trade-in does the thing, right? Because Sigil's beginning of action phase. Am I making this up? I'm not a fan of the amulets. I might try them if I find that I'm short on. If I find that I want more Watery Grave, but I don't want more yellows and I can't change my blue count, maybe I add those in. Because I don't actually think that I need it for an anti-fatigue stuff. I think we're good for fatigue with all the Prismatic Ley lines. I think we're good. I think the concern is aggro decks at this point. There's something else in here. Can't remember what it was. Maybe I'm just trolling. So yeah, it was really just, do we want seafloor plus some yellow, which is probably swell? Do we want Royal Hat? Do we want this many boners? Is trade-in a reasonable card? And that's pretty much it. I think this is like a functioning pile. Whether or not this is like great is another question. You could go Third Blood in the Water also. I didn't like 3 when I was playing before because it was kind of bricky. I think if we increase the Watery Grave count, though, that's pretty reasonable. I also mostly wanted this card for Slippy, and if Slippy moves down in popularity, maybe we don't need this. But we did just free up a slot from the snag, so maybe that gets bumped up as well. I'm not going to concern myself too much with like defensive tools and like tech cards, though. It's make sure the deck functions before anything else. Any other thoughts or questions, guys? The floor is open to you guys. You guys got the mic. Oh god. Amal sent me a message. What are you sending me? No. Wait, these aren't even leaks. These are scallions. Amal sent me leaks, but they're not leaks, they're just scallions. Prismatic Leyline is just a really good card. It's a 0 for 5. It makes it so that way your all the blues that you're playing basically become reds. It's just a 0 for 5. It's not that deep. It's just bonus damage, and it's an extender, so that way you can play your whole hand on offense more often. I think I'm going to die before we get Dromai, too. I think they will begin scheduling BNRs at reasonable dates before events before we get Dromai 2. This is ridiculous. Man, it was so fun playing Dromai in LL. Oh my god, that was so enjoyable. Deck's really good. I don't know how good it is, given that there was no bans to the format. There was unbans. Basically, I was like, okay, Dromai seems pretty reasonable. I'm assuming a bunch of broken shit's going to get banned. This seems like a safe deck to play for Worlds because it's not going to get hit. But then the things I was expecting to get hit just like didn't get hit. So I was like, oh, I guess I don't know if I can play this anymore. Oh my god, Flat Path is broken. It's just so busted. Let me attack with Kyloria twice. Shake my hand, GG. I don't think Plunder Run's very good in Dromai. It doesn't work with your dragons. What's the worst matchup? I'm assuming you're talking about oh my god, I just lost my train of thought. I assume you're talking about Gravy. I mean, worst matchup, Syndra, right? Maybe Dory. The beating the mirror is not something that I can explain in like a 2-second response to a comment. It's actually pretty deep because there's lots of different ways to play the mirror, but I think a lot of it comes down to navigating the matchup in such a way that you don't brick and you don't create a failure state to yourself. I think that's like the number one thing. Yeah, double snatch. Who knew that? Who knew 0 for 4, 0 for 4 on hit draw card would be good? I had no idea. Triple Scoob is a preference thing. If you wanted to cut some number of Scoobs, I think that's pretty reasonable. Like, I might cut a Scoob for an Anka or something. I don't think that's crazy. If we see like the mirror go down in popularity and Slippy go down in popularity, so like it having a 4-butt is less relevant, and aggro decks pick up, then maybe Scuba goes down because the reason I'm playing this card is less valuable. It's a meta thing, you know? I mean, yeah, I was planning on doing some LL stream stuff, and then the BNR came out. I don't actually think Limpet's a very good card. I think its best case is the mirror. It's so low impact, I'd rather spend my 1 free ally a turn on an ally that impacts the board more. I think the strength of Limpet is that it allows you to play Command and Conquer and cards like that are action point negative. And like I said before, you could go like Swindler's Grift plus Limpet if you wanted to go that direction. I don't want to go that direction. I think adding Limpet so I can play Swindler's Grift is just me spinning my wheels. I could have just, instead of doing all of that, just played a better ally and not price myself into having to make a weird play and play bad cards. Ugh. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of selling myself on not playing balance. Because, like, maybe we go Royal against Syndra as well now. And just go fast. But the balance is just so good in that matchup. I typically find a spot to make the entirety of the balance worth 8. It's worth 2 from blocking 2. I usually draw a card, so that's worth like 3. And then I usually find a spot where the block denies them a mask trigger, so I'm stopping them from drawing a card. And if it never draws a card, that means they just never cheesed me with a ancestral empowerment, right? Assassin got worse, but I don't think Assassin's leaving the meta necessarily. Like, Assassin's still good. The tough thing, like, I actually kind of want to cut a Scoob, but I think with losing the Tipples, the extra gold generation is kind of important from it. But maybe 2's fine. Because I could cut like a Scoob and something else, and then that makes space for an Anka. 2 Ankas. And then I get to play 17 like I wanted. And then that makes the boners better. Shane, hello. When are you going to be on the pod? Everyone wants to see you on the pod. At the beginning, you compared to the LCS in League, the pros would just ban the hero 100% of the time, so the point is moot. Okay, so with that comparison, I never said that the hero is broken in the LCS. I'm saying it's a champion that is only good at the pro level. I don't believe I ever said that it's broken at the LCS or something like that, where it's like a auto pick. It's just, yeah, this is only good at that in that level of play. So for example, like a really team focused character or something. I don't know if there's ever been an example of that in League, but it's an analogy that I think people would at least understand. So not a broken character, just it only sees play at the LCS. Like maybe I'm trying to remember, maybe like Janna back in the day in the really early seasons. I'm pretty sure Janna was like really popular at the LCS in like early League, but didn't see that much play in solo queue because it just like wasn't high impact enough. But maybe I'm just like making that up. It's been so long. Kalista, she's the one that like the ghost girl that like throws spears or whatever, right? That seems like that could be a good comparison, right? Because she's really technical and hard to play. Also, ghost person, so kind of good analogy to Gravy Bones. Yeah, exactly, Shane. I'm not saying that it's a broken champion. It's just like in our metagame, it's really good, but it's not broken. So maybe she's a good example. Like, if there's ever a snapshot of her within the League meta where she wasn't, because I imagine when she came out she was broken or something like that, because that's just kind of League it is in my memory, where it's like character comes out, it's really good, it gets nerfs, and until then it's banned for a long time. So like maybe shortly after that, where she's just like good, and the pros played her because they are technical enough to play her, but in solo queue, like, why would you play this character? It's way too hard. You're clearly not skilled enough in silver to play this. That like might be a good analogy. I don't know. It's hard for me to say because like I kind of stopped playing League around when she came out, I think. God, when did I stop playing? Is there like an easy way to just like look at the champion release order? I stopped playing somewhere around here. I think I stopped playing like around here, but I don't think I was paying attention to the LCS at this point. I was just logging in to play with my friends. I think in the hands of the pros, they made it look like it was like had no weaknesses. I don't actually know if even at that level gravy is a problem though. It's hard to say because like I haven't actually gone to play in an event of that level. I know for a fact that gravy is incredibly good in the hands of those players, right? But I can't speak for personally playing in that metagame as I have not done that since gravy's come out. So I'm going to reserve opinion when it comes to that. How do I ban this person? Shane, you gotta go on the pod. The people want to see you on the pod. I want to see you on the pod. Okay, how does anyone know how to ban someone? I manually put them on a blocked from my channel thing on my channel dashboard. Hopefully that works. That was odd. Anyways, that's a pretty interesting analogy though of Callista. Am I pronouncing that right? Callista? Okay, make me Google it. How to ban someone on YouTube live stream. Click the 3 dots. Select ban from studio. It's a bot, whatever. Okay. They got timed out at least. Okay, well, hopefully that's good enough, and I'll just figure out how to do bans in the future, because I don't actually know how to do that on here. The 3 dots thing just, doesn't show up for me. Let me show you guys what I see. Where ban? Where ban button? What the fuck? Anyways. Okay. It doesn't sound like we have too much else to say about Gravy Bones, though. For anyone that missed it, here's the... Nope, that's not the list. That's the username of that person. Here's a list if you guys want to give it a spin. Feel free to give me any feedback if you have any thoughts about it. Just throw it in the general chat in the Discord or something, or the Gravy chat on my Discord. If you got value out of this content, check out the Patreon. It's $5 a month, and I post my deck lists, the statistics thing for Gravy data on there, as well as other things. Subscribe to the channel. It's perfectly fine, and it is free to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. I will probably be streaming Thursday because I got to get some practice in before the AGE, so stay tuned for that. I might stream Sunday as well. We'll see. I haven't really felt like it recently. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your night.